Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or are you just happy to see me?
So, hello everybody, welcome. I'm joined again by Orange Hat Reviews. Stieg has his schedule kind of changed, so he is 6 hours ahead of us pretty much. So he is obviously asleep. I gotta fix my camera. But anyway, welcome. We are talking about the sequel to the masterpiece, 1979 masterpiece Ridley Scott brought to the screen, Alien, and that is James Cameron's foray into the franchise itself, with the sequel aptly named Aliens, because there's more than one. We find out there's more to the lore surrounding the xenomorphs that we discover in this film, which leads into subsequent films and an expansion, literally an expanded universe for the xenomorphs, pretty much like the Predators or the Yautja species, pretty much.
Yeah.
But anyway, before I say hello to the chat and we start going into the discussion, so Orange Hat, let everybody know where they can find you and just your overall thoughts for Aliens.
Well, Orange Hat Reviews. You can find me on Twitter, Minds, Getter, YouTube, all under the same name, Orange Hat Reviews. You really got to do an active search for me on Twitter because Twitter hates me for some weird reason. I do movie reviews, entertainment news. Recently dropped a couple videos today. One about Jessica Chastain whining and one that Mara also did about Tolkien fans getting bashed again for racism.
Yeah.
I do mystery reviews every Tuesday mornings. The hints for next Tuesday morning is Red Sea Trading Company and the 90s. I also do guest choice reviews where I have guests on. They get to pick the movie, the time, the date. Mara's been on one. They're fun to do. Tomorrow night, I'm doing one with Cult Classic Cage. She picked East of Eden, so we're going to be discussing a nice classic. Yeah.
That I assume that's the
James Dean one.
James, I was blanking on his name. James Dean. Yeah.
Yep.
My only criticism is I don't think the actress they got to play the lead is that attractive, but at the same time, it's more of a nitpick on my part. But the movie itself is just phenomenal. So
yeah, and basically, if anybody wants to be on a guest choice review, just hit me up on Twitter because that's where I mostly am. And like I said, you get to pick the movie, the time, and the date. The only place the only thing I choose is the place, which is my channel. And as for Aliens, my quick thoughts on it, it is my favorite of the entire Xenomorph movie group. I really like the pace of it. It starts a little bit slow, but then it picks up just flat even all the way through and just continues to build on from there. They have an all-star cast. Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, Sigourney Weaver, the works. I mean, the first movie had a great cast that all went on to do some great work. This cast is no different. James Cameron did a wonderful job directing this movie. The only thing that he changed up really was the look of the aliens to make them more organic looking, as well as the sound they made. But other than that, this movie is by far the most superior Alien movie out there.
Okay. So just slight disagreement just in terms of preference. From last week, my preference is the first Alien movie because I prefer the more psychological, slow build, thriller, in terms of the cat and mouse sort of situation where it's they're trying to catch the alien. They discover that it's big, so now it's a game of, like I said, literally cat and mouse where they're trying to catch this, but really it's reversed pretty much. The aliens hunting them on their ship. But that's not to say I do not enjoy this one. It's basically, if I me saying I prefer the first one is not any slight against the second one. It's more like this. Yeah. Here's the first one right here, and here's the second one. They're pretty much close.
Yeah.
It's just it's all based down to your preference of tone. Whereas the first one is more of a psychological horror / thriller-esque, and whereas Aliens is literal sci-fi action. Like there's no other other way I can think to describe it. Pretty much in terms of like the genre it would be placed into because of how fast paced it is. You have the sci-fi, and then once the Marines get to the planetoid for what ostensibly they believe is a rescue mission, it like everything goes to hell pretty much, and it goes to hell quickly, and that pace is continued pretty much throughout the rest of the movie. So you don't really have many opportunities for any breathing room in James Cameron's sequel to Alien. But like I said, of the two, I prefer Alien, but I do love Aliens. I love that it's a different feel. And it's not just a rehash of the same tone and so forth of the first movie. That's how you're supposed to do sequels, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you're supposed to do continuations of franchises. You don't rehash member berries and things like that. When Hollywood at least was still churning out good films, pretty much, before now. That's how you do a proper sequel, in my opinion. I'm going to say hello to the chat, and then I'm going to bring up Orange Hat Reviews was gracious enough to let not gift me, but a pass, screen pass on Movies Anywhere, so I didn't have to rent the movie, and I made absolutely sure it's muted, so I should not get a fucking copyright claim for this time. There should be nothing triggering any studio bots or anything. If it does get triggered in any way without sound, I'm gonna find a way to get to the studio so I can burn the building down.
Or just nuke the site from orbit.
Yeah, nuke the site from orbit, which is like your member chat, because I see 2 member chats. Yours is the second one. You said for the trolls, we'll nuke you from your orbit, just to be sure, pretty much, and member for 29 months. Thank you so much, Orange Chat. And Gravy D, if you're still in the chat, I see your member for 2 months. There's one female that runs them all. She's badass, man. Thank you so much, Gravy. And Gigawatt is the first comment I see. They mostly come out at night. Mostly. Yeah, so it's like as ominous as you can get, pretty much.
Carrie Ann, man, she hasn't done a movie since.
Yeah, and one of the trivia I read is this kind of like we'll talk further about Bill Paxton when we talk about the Marines, or at least the focused Marines in the movie. It's just like how like much of a nice guy he was, like generally a nice guy he was. That according to the trivia, he would constantly apologize for cursing in front of Carrie Henn, the actress who played Newt, because he didn't like she was obviously a little girl, so he wasn't comfortable with like cursing in front of her. And she said it's like, and she said like she didn't have a problem with it, mostly because she didn't understand what the words meant. So
exactly at that time.
At the time, she didn't understand what the words meant. She's like, I'm fine. But he's apologizing to her for just doing it in front of her.
Yeah.
So it's like a really nice guy he was. Why they don't make them like that anymore in Hollywood, pretty much. So Trey, hey Mara and Orange, I'm ready for this awesome discussion. I say we nuke this entire site from orbit. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's where I stand. And the Oz, hello, Colonial Marines. It's a rescue mission. You'll love it. There's some juicy colonist daughters we have to rescue from their virginity. Sergeant Apollon, pretty much. The Colonial Marines proceeds to get impregnated, eaten. So, they didn't count on the Zenith for the greater fuckboys. Fogwin, hello, evening. Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you? That's like the best entire movie. You were 11 when this came out. It's okay. Nice. What are we supposed to use? Harsh language. I love it. When they find out what they're allowed to use or what ammunition they're allowed to use. Like, what are we supposed to use? Harsh words, pretty much. Yeah.
Also, Winky asked, "Why do they call me Orange Hat?" Because I have an orange hat.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 completely different movies. Yeah, so I say it's like. Like not everyone does this, but you do run into the occasional stick up their butt where you say something like, "Oh, I prefer this over this," and their automatic response is, "So why do you hate the second one?" Like, never said I hated the second one. I just prefer one over the other sort of situation. And like I said, the reason why is because I prefer the tone of Alien. It's kind of like with the Terminator movies, which we will eventually go into when a little bit down the road, Terminator and T2, right? Of those, again, different tones, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Different tones. I prefer the first one. I think the first one, much like Alien and much like the first Predator, could be one and done films. Could be one and done films. Yes, they kind of like are slightly open ended at the end, but at the same time, it's like they did not necessarily have to spawn sequels. But at the same time, we're grateful that they spawn sequels because we have Aliens and we have T2 and we have Predator 2. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so me saying I prefer Terminator over T2 does not mean I don't like T2. It's Terminator is again cat and mouse. All right, very cat and mouse feel, in a sense, and then T2 is Sarah Connor's, much like Ellen Ripley, is the mama bear you don't want to mess with.
Oh yeah,
it's very action heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Oh shoot! It jumped on me. Hold on 1 second.
Rox M. Oh my god.
This is the one of the most iconic lines. Get away from her, you bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Hound. Good to see you. Hello. Did nothing wrong. They just gestate their babies. Yeah. Aliens is clearly a work of fiction. In real life, there's no way a military outfit would have had inexperienced commanding officer who puts his men in danger constantly. I get that. And on one hand, I do. This comes to a point in this movie where I do defend Gorman, right? Like he would not have necessarily, in an ideal situation, he would not have been picked. But at the same time, they were going off the premise that it was a simple, hey, something happened on this planet, let's go check it out sort of situation. He was completely out of his depth. He was kind of an asshole. I mean, and we'll talk about this more a little bit later because from my military experience, I get it. But at the same time, I don't completely hold that against him because of the situation that he was placed in. Completely out of his depth. I'm sure they would not have sent him in if they had all listened to Ripley and went and okay, this shit's going, there's something there. Could be these aliens, these xenomorphs. We need to send in the crack team, pretty much.
Yeah.
They didn't.
I love one scene in that, if I may. It's like, how many drops is this for you, Gorman? 38 simulated. How many combat drops? 2, including this one.
Yeah.
It's that says all you need to know about Gorman.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my Twitch. Thank you. I haven't seen her since Lethal Weapon 2. Yeah. There have been times with actors and actresses basically just do a couple movies and then they realize even at a young age Hollywood is not for them, pretty much, and so they just decide to live normal lives, pretty much.
Was Carrie Henn in Lethal Weapon 2? Because I looked up her IMDb earlier. It says only aliens and some 2020 thing.
Unless she was an uncredited role, because sometimes that happens.
That may have been it, yeah.
But
even then, IMDb hits that with or points out that it's an uncredited role.
So
now, unless he's
watch Lethal Weapon 2, so I don't.
He could be talking about the actress that plays Vasquez because she was in Lethal Weapon 2.
It could be talking about Vasquez because Carrie Henn, I don't know her from Aliens. So, hey, Richie, been looking forward to the stream all week. Favorite Alien movie? Well, we are getting into the discussion. So, hello, Nighthawk. Good evening. Roxham, xenomorphs are scary. Yes, I again do not hate Okay, he says that's what I meant on the YouTube side. I see his comment.
Mm-hmm.
So again, me saying I prefer xenomorphs to Yautjas does not mean I do not like Yautjas. I just prefer the xenomorphs in terms of design and so forth. And
we're all allowed to be wrong at least once.
Oh, there you go. See. Let's see. Soul Assassin, thank you so much. Hello. Terminator's horror is action horror like Aliens. Yeah, I'm saying they're different feels. It's much like Alien and Aliens. So it's you preferring one over the other does not necessarily mean the other one is necessarily bad. Megatron
Cameron's best years were in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm. So again, people probably hate me for this. I think Avatar is overrated.
I agree. I mean, I do find some enjoyment out of it here and there, especially Sigourney Weaver. I mean, she is such a freaking bitch in that movie, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were talking about this, like his mini redemption arc. So that's like, it's like it's like again off of my time in the military and so forth, and my experience. So I don't hold it like I don't. In his defense, to play devil's advocate, in his defense, he was completely out of his depth. I don't think they would have sent him if they had all had any inclination of like what they would be encountering. And he does have a redemption arc. So, and it goes, I mean, it is like a pretty moving essentially, like how he goes out.
Yeah.
So
He goes out like a fucking boss. Let's just be honest.
pretty much. So Yautja Master Race. Don't really have any thoughts on this. Pred Aliens.
Well,
really
I know of
not too in depth in that lore. So
yeah, I know of 2 Pred Aliens, the Chet and the one from the Xbox 360 game.
Mhm.
I like Chet because it's a queen embryo Pred Alien.
okay,
So,
yeah. Yeah, and by Yautja Master Race, I mean before they started looking autistic kids for super brain powers. Yeah, all that.
We don't acknowledge the existence of that film that occurred in 2018.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, because like it's totally believable that autism is the way that it was approached. Like nothing against autism, but the way it was approached was like, no, that does not make any sense.
Yeah, they tried to push this. They tried to push the savantism as a boon when it's like, yeah, but they're limited in everything else.
Yeah. So,
I mean, the only super autistic person out there is Ben Affleck. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen The Accountant,
I did see it, and I actually enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would.
It's one of my
actually a really good movie. Yeah,
it's one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Mm-hmm. I prefer Terminator over T2 Mate because it doesn't have Edward Furlong in it. Poor Edward Furlong. His career just kind of nosedived a little bit after that. Don't do drugs
because
kids.
he nosedived into coke.
Yeah, don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, he is literally a cautionary tale. Although I do like that he actually started cleaning up his act.
He did. He was the last thing I remember seeing him in was the remake of Night of the Demons. So like you could obviously tell that he had at least used to do drugs.
Yeah.
Because like you could see it in his facial features, things like that. But like you could also tell that he was trying to clean up his act.
The last thing I seen,
the movie itself sucked, but he was at least trying to clean up his act. So
last thing I seen Furlong in was either Crow, Wicked Prayer, or CSI New York.
I watched CSI New York. I don't remember seeing him, but I don't think I saw all the seasons. So
He was in a couple episodes where he menaced one of the team, and yeah, let's just say it was a bad scene, or there was a bad moment in there.
Okay, I might have seen it, but again, it's been years since I watched it. I know that's the one with Gary Sinise, because like the CSI New York. So, and I actually, it's completely exaggerated in what CSI units typically do, but at the same time, it's very entertaining. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
And I prefer New York. And actually, I preferred New York over the original CSI.
I'm actually watching the original now on Hulu. It's like I'm bored with all this new age shit. I just want to go back to the old shit that didn't have the stupid shit in it. So I'm starting to watch CSI. I'm on season 2 right now.
Yeah, so yeah, like a very much enjoyable, like original. But I don't know. I just prefer the feel of CSI New York, and I would watch CSI Miami just for like, I wouldn't say memes, but it's like.
I never
for the lead. I was like, it's like every time he closed out a line, he always put his sunglasses on, so to the point it became a meme.
Yeah, David Caruso. I mean, he's a good actor. Don't get me wrong. I could not get into CSI Miami because honestly, with me, I have family in law enforcement, and we kind of have a stigma against cops that do go dirty. He has kind of crossed that gray line a bit too much for my taste.
Okay. Again, that's
Taking
also
a
been
person
something I
over
haven't
the-
seen in like years, but I would like watch it like old episodes occasionally, and it's like I said, like it's oh wait, like he's closing out he's closing out his line with like it's like it's like epicness, so he's putting his sunglasses. There he
Yeah.
goes, there he goes.
I remember
So-
the first crossover with Miami, and the blonde chick's like says something to him in Spanish, and he's like, "What did she say?" She said, "You need to learn the language." And then he puts on his glasses.
Yeah, put on his glasses. So
Horatio
I don't know.
Shades.
I don't know because I haven't seen either one in years. So for all I know, they could have like probably CSI Los Angeles, I'd imagine, with it being Gamergates, which I never bothered to watch. That CSI. Because there was a CSI Los Angeles, right?
There's
version?
an NCIS LA.
NCIS, is that the one? 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't remember CSI doing a Gamergate one.
they
Okay,
are.
no, they trade as Law and Order. I was gonna say because
Yeah.
I don't remember that being in CSI, and I was like, for all I know, it could be NCIS. It seems like something the LA one would do, but
Yeah.
anyway, Alien. So let me bring
Back to
up,
yeah. Sorry.
bring up, present, share screen. All right. Again, I made sure it was muted, as you can see on my screen. There is an X there, so there should be no sound coming through. All right.
All right.
We gave our overall thoughts, and so it starts. I'm going to skip through some things. Where Ripley is found. All right. I'm just going to skip through some parts.
Mm-hmm. One of the guys from that salvage crew that finds her,
Mm-hmm.
he looks like one of the guys that was in the Mighty Ducks movies. Swear to God, has to be the same freaking actor, or it's definitely not the same actor, rather. But it's like seriously looks like him.
Eerily similar, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, did he travel
So
back in
she's-
time?
so she's found, like she's discovered, and it's like picks up essentially where Alien leaves off, but we find out a bit later after this scene, and this is like one of the most infamous scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to skip. So I don't want to play the whole thing, but she's talking. Try
Right here.
to Burke. All right, she's talking to the character called Burke. We find Paul Reiser, who is kind of big in the 80s to early 90s, essentially, and he's going over like how long it's been since she's been found and so forth. How she was found. Again,
She passed through the core
Amanda Ripley
systems.
reveal. You know, Amanda Ripley, her daughters, like the reveal about her daughter. That it's been nearly 60 years. So Ripley was basically out in space for nearly 60 years.
Yeah,
Or, like, no.
57.
Well, 57, nearly 60 years.
Yeah.
Like, discovered. And the way space works is like, I love how there's still some accuracy in this movie. As exaggerated as it is, in space, you do age slower than you would on Earth, pretty much. So it's believable that she could have been out there for nearly 60 years and barely aged. So it would be believable. So, like,
Yeah.
According to what I've read about space and so forth, is that you do tend to age rather slowly, or like slower than you would on Earth, given the the rotation of certain planets and so forth. Amanda Ripley story could make a great miniseries. It could. I mean,
Yeah, she's constantly waiting for her mother.
yeah. So
It's like,
Well, I
my
mean-
ma said she was going to be back by my 11th birthday. Where the hell is she?
so
Then she's on her deathbed. God damn you, ma.
if you think about it, it's kind of like the same thing as what's that? Why am I blanking on it? The with Matthew McConaughey, he goes into space with Anne Hathaway and Interstellar,
Yeah.
where he leaves his daughter when she's like about that same age. She's called Murphy, and like you do see her, like it goes back and forth between her and Matthew McConaughey's character. But the next time we really see her and them in the same scene, it's like he's still the same age pretty much, and she's on her deathbed.
Yeah.
So similar approach. Yeah, Alien Isolation, that could be like a mini series or something if you were to cast Amanda Ripley for that. So I'm gonna play this again, no sounds. So it's one again. It throws you in there. Jones. I love Jones. Anyway.
Have you ever wondered what they do to get the cats to hiss?
So I'd have to go and look to see. I'm pretty sure. I mean, my cats hiss pretty much on their own, so I don't have to do anything much to them to get them to hiss sometimes. But I'd imagine you could probably train them like with a spray bottle, so if they see it, they'll hiss, knowing what's coming or thinking what's coming.
You're actually right there.
Yeah.
They get them pissed off about spray bottles, and then they show the spray bottle, and the cat goes.
Yeah, like, and it just like leaves pretty much.
Now this is This part here is classic horror. Her body is underneath that fake body.
Mm-hmm. So
it's actually under. Yeah.
Yeah, and she wakes up. It's obviously a dream. But you're like, oh shit! It's like how could this have happened? Because it seemed real. It seems like a real scene. Like it was actually. I mean, but at the same time, it was the way it was filmed and portrayed. It is essentially still a memory. Like she's going off of like that event did actually happen. Like her conversation with Burke and everything. So that event did happen, but it kind of molded with her post-traumatic stress disorder, dealing with the alien and the chestbuster scene. So she kind of married the two in a dream. So it's like that part with Berg is an actual memory, but with the chestbuster is not. That was a dream. Show them the movie cast.
You want to get a woman to hiss? Just show her a picture of other girls.
You bring an unknown cat to the game. It possibly. So I think a spray bottle is I'm like right. Spray bottle is easier, but there are ways to get them to. There are ways to get them to hiss. So
also, folks, back in the 70s and 80s, when it came to animals, the laws they have nowadays didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back even then back in the classic Hollywood, like there are movies I can't watch because of what they did for scenes to get certain animals to do things, to the point where it's like they risked the animals' lives in scenes.
Mm-hmm.
They literally risked animals' lives in scenes. So, there are movies I can't watch, knowing that, what they did back then.
Creature of the Black Lagoon. That swan died.
Mm-hmm.
They killed it. They drowned that bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, there's things I can't watch. So,
Sakura, good to see you.
Hey, hello. And behind the scenes, that's what they did. Bring in a different cat to get it to hiss.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I'm saying, there are ways, pretty much. And bring in a strange cat will hiss.
Mm-hmm.
Child actors hadn't had predictions for that long either. No. Actually, Macaulay Culkin, his parents are pretty much pieces of shit.
Yeah, he emancipated himself from them.
Yeah.
Because of that shit.
Yeah. So they weren't treated much better, but animals, they were far worse. Far worse.
They weren't human. They didn't get the human protections.
Yeah. So another bit of trivia for those who know about Judy Garland. Her drug dependency was actually the result of what the studio did to get her to stay up at night, because they would actually have her film all night if need be to get a film done, to the expense of pumping her full with drugs to keep her awake. She didn't have any protection back then.
Yeah.
None. She was pretty much the property of the studio. So
Horrors of Hollywood, folks. Horrors of Hollywood. This movie has no candle to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Golden Age of Hollywood wasn't. I mean, the movies themselves were classic, but the Hollywood itself is not golden, pretty much.
Yeah, it was more like fool's gold,
and it really hasn't changed that much since. In terms of working conditions, it's better, but not by much.
Yeah.
for in most cases. But anyway, so again, Jones is probably one of my favorite characters just in the movie, just because like he just like stares at her going like, just you disturbed my sleep, pretty much.
Like,
It's
what the
all
fuck
Cat
is wrong
did.
with you? You're
Yeah.
still dreaming about that damn thing. We killed it.
Yeah, pretty much. He's
I'm
like,
the oldest living cat. Worship me.
yes, like, yeah, because Jones also was in
Yeah.
was in like in the cryo sleep, so he is also pretty much like nearly 60 years past his prime. So he's the oldest cat on like on record at this point. So, and this scene right here, I'm gonna try to skip because I'm gonna try to see if I can get a good shot of Lambert's bio because it's someone with eagle eyes. I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute.
I miss Stieg right now because you know that he would have made a pussy joke.
Yeah, he would have definitely.
That is one old pussy.
Yeah. And Ginger too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm trying to like catch Lambert's. That's why I'm playing this scene. And sorry if you can't see the. I do have the captions on, but like the Movies Anywhere has you like it's like the big thing blocking the captions whenever you scroll over it. So she's trying to convince these corporate types of her experience and why she had to destroy the Nostromo, why she's the only survivor, essentially. And of course, it's oh, hold on.
There it is.
It's blurry. But anyway, someone with eagle eyes. I'm just gonna try going back a little bit. Someone with eagle eyes noticed something about Lambert's bio. Notice something about Lambert's bio. And it's very blurry, so it's going to try to see if I can catch it. It's a little too blurry, pretty much. But someone with a better quality screen, things like that, notice something in Lambert's bio that, unless you had eagle eyes, would not have noticed. And that is, in her bio, she's described as having gender reassignment surgery.
Yep, she's transgender.
Yeah.
Which, back then, nobody cared.
Nobody
nowadays,
cared. Yeah.
Nowadays, you need to worship at the altar of trans.
Yeah. So, and this is a time when, so, not saying it necessarily would have been normal in the future, but it's like a fictional world. It's almost, I don't want to say this. Don't want to say dystopian necessarily, but it's far into the future. So something like that, it's like more or less like it's. I would not put it past them necessarily.
It's possible that in the future they have it pretty much down, or they have the science pretty much perfected at that point.
Yeah. So, but again, we would not have noticed it because they never made a big deal about it. Never made a big deal about it.
The only way that you can really see the information is if you get the special edition from 2003. Yeah.
That's the only way that you would have been able to see it. And someone caught that again, but again, late 80s, early 90s time frame. It wasn't all about identity politics or anything like that. If you when we talk about the Marines, you'll see there is even diversity in the Marines. And again, it was a time when you were hired because they thought you were the best for whatever role they were hiring you for. So the actor playing Lieutenant Gorman, Cameron saw something in him and they said he was perfect for that role. All right.
Yep.
The actress who plays Vasquez, Phil Hicks, so forth, all of them was they were hired based on acting ability, merit, versus okay, we need this many black characters, we need this many Asian characters, we need this many gay characters, we need this pretty much. They weren't checkboxes. All right. So there was genuine diversity. There was, and they didn't make a big deal.
Yep.
Pretty much. Just another film that had a woman play a trans woman. Transphobia, cancel. So yes, pretty much, yeah. But anyway, again, if you go again get the 2003 special edition, you will see that on Lambert's bio. But this scene is pretty much Ripley is trying to again convince these corporate types why she had to blow up the Nostromo.
Winky, winky. His last comment.
And I see it.
Yeah.
And
It killed it because the alien killed what's her name because she may have lacked one, but still had male biology inside.
Yeah. Because like the speculation was is the alien tried to I don't want to say the word, but
Flog the bishop.
Yeah, and realized I can't. So
it's like, well, fuck, it's not fitting. Oh shit. You got one too. Dead.
Yeah. Dead. So that's the speculation. But so I'm not trying to skip through scenes quite quickly, but for the most part, that's what the gist of this scene is. Her giving her. It's kind of like her. They're kind of interrogating her, so she's telling them.
It's an inquest, is what they call it.
That's the word I was looking for. An inquest, basically. It's like one of those inquest hearings where they have something's not adding up. Why did you destroy the ship? She's telling them what happened. The reason why she had to destroy the Nostromo was because of all the eggs and so forth. And because there really is no proof, they can only take her at her word. And in doing so, they kind of strip her of her warrant officer title, and she's relegated to driving a forklift, pretty much.
Essentially. Also, folks, what really dates this movie is that the ship, that big-ass Nostromo, was worth $43 million according to this movie, where in reality, something that size would most likely be worth a few billion. Yeah, like this is $43 million in like $1978, $79 or $86, pretty much. Yeah. Then that's going to be a few billion in dollars nowadays. Adjusting for inflation. Yes, Ellen Ripley is a true example of female empowerment, and I'm going to get into that, especially when we talk about Newt. Because there's a dynamic to Ripley's character, and like as awesome as she is in the first one, this is like what puts this movie just right up there, almost nearly with the first one, and that is the additional dynamic added to Ripley's character, which doesn't weaken her as much as like third wave, fourth wave feminists want to imply in terms of motherhood. It actually makes her character stronger because you see the pain of not watching her daughter grow up at all, because her daughter is dead at this point. She found out her daughter's dead. Her daughter died 2 years prior. Yeah, her daughter's entire life. And so her mother instinct kicks in protecting Newt. And I think that makes her character stronger in this one. Yep. She has the perfect dichotomy in this freaking movie. So badass and mama bear. Yeah. Wait, the xenomorph killed a trans woman, so we're meant to cancel the xenos for transphobia, or are we xenophobes for canceling the xeno? See, therein lies the rub. Catch 22. Yeah. So she became a fuller character, just like Sarah Connor in T2. Yes, that's how you portray a genuinely strong female character. And I hate using that expression, strong female character, but that's how you generally portray one. Because typically with Hollywood nowadays, it's one-dimensional because they're looking in terms of surpassing male strength or whatever, and they forget mental and emotional strength, which is what Ripley displayed in this movie as well. People forget that what makes a woman strong is not so much the ability to do what men do, but to also have that vulnerability that can make women everywhere identify with them. Yeah, exactly. But again, going back to if you missed the stream, I should say last week talking about Alien, and that is Ripley, the original when the characters were being created. Ripley was actually intended to be a male. Yep. But Sigourney Weaver wowed in her edition so much that they changed the character from male to female, and I mean, I'm not sure what exactly they changed, but for the most part, I can't tell. I can honestly not tell because she's a character. She's a strong character who happens to be a woman. By the way, folks, the way that she wowed Cameron was by taking off her shirt in the audition. Hey, Offmore. Shuri is generally a strong character in Wakanda Forever with laughing emojis. Yeah, I totally believe you, Alpha. Pretty much. But she also
in a sense, also wowed James Cameron because she would give him notes about her character, but at the same time, it was not so much notes on her, on like trivia. I'm gonna find what I read, which I kind of, it says, he praised her for never taking issue with the direction he wanted to take with the story. It was more of how she felt her character would respond to situations, which he respected. So there was she didn't confront him or anything. She was because she knew the character essentially. She knew her character a bit better than Cameron. So whenever she would read the script and say, "I don't think my character would react this way to the situation," she would give him notes. But did not completely try to take over the direction of the character. And James Cameron proved, much like with what he did with Sarah Connor, that men can create strong characters that are women. I don't know where this inclination came about that only females know how to create strong female characters, but Cameron proved it. Ridley Scott proved it that men can do it, and I think they do it, and they do it better.
Cameron can still do it.
Yeah, because they actually create characters, not caricatures.
Look at Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah. Yeah, Wes Craven made Sydney. Joss did it. I'll give Joss credit where credit's due. I think he's a dick, but he can do it.
Whedon can do it. It's just that he also wants to do it with the strong women that he's doing it with.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm saying he's
a fucking
Wes
perv.
Craven did with Sydney and so forth. I say Wes Craven even did it with what's the Nancy? Yeah, Nancy. The final girl essentially in Nightmare on Elm Street, pretty much.
Yeah.
She's a character.
Yep. I forget her real name. Oh well.
I know Langenkamp is her last name.
Yeah. Heather.
Yeah, she's a character. Heather Langenkamp. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
She's a character. I mean, she's part of the final girl trope, but she's a character. There's no she's more than one dimensional. But anyway, so this scene, it ends with basically her being stripped of her warrant officer rank and relegated to driving a forklift. So in this scene, this is where we meet Gorman.
Yeah, small trivia, in between this scene and the inquest, they actually cover what happens at the colony, Hadley's Hope. They actually show that somebody asked a couple of salvage crews to go out to certain coordinates, and you see Newt and her brother and Newt's family, the parents as well, and then the parents or the father gets face hugged and the mother is calling in the Mayday, and you see Newt just scream. Yeah.
So, and we find out a bit more about that later on, like I said, particularly with Burke's character. But yeah, that's the catalyst which kind of spurs this interaction where you're introduced to Gorman. Because in this point where it's yeah, we're gonna need your help because something happened on this planetoid, and it happens to be the very planet that the crew of the Nostromo went to in Alien. So Ripley finds out about this. She finds out about this and goes, pretty much what the fuck? And she finds out that they've been,
she also straight up tells them to fuck off too.
Yeah. And not only is she finding this out, but she's finding out that they've been trying to terraform this planet for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's one of those revelations where it's if she had been able to be found in time or get back in time, she probably could have warned them a lot sooner. But she's it's pretty much they've been there for 30 years.
Yep.
Fingers crossed, Omaha, that I don't get hit because I made absolutely sure. There's it's muted because I think what happened is when I didn't have I thought I had it on mute the last time, and sound came through. It triggered whatever bot the studio has through YouTube, which trigger one of those automatic copyright claims, pretty much.
Yeah, opens its eyes and it's seek and destroy.
Yeah, it literally is what happens. I'm like, again, it's stupid. Hey, Holocron, good to see you. Yeah,
Winky's
Long Kiss Goodnight
asking.
with Gina Davis.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a great movie.
yeah, I'm saying like, I guess I don't know. I mean, I do essentially know, but at the same time, I have to throw up my hands and going, where is this coming from that only women can write female characters? I never.
Disney.
I never. Yes, I know. What I'm saying it's like I know it's Disney, but at the same time, it's like I'm going through like this man wrote this character, this man wrote this character, this man wrote this character, and or you'll ask them like, do you like this character? Yeah. Do you like this character? Yeah. Do you like this character? Yeah. Well, they were created by men.
Mm-hmm. What armed forces was Mara in?
So, well, I was in Air Force, so which is going to kind of come into a little bit of the discussion when we talk about the Marines, because I'm going to ask Orange Chat when we start talking about the Marines and the little bits, which one is his favorite, pretty much, because we're introduced to not only diversity in terms of like their physical characteristics, but diversity in their personalities as well. So again, true diversity. And I'm asking like which one is his favorite, because there's a tie for favorite from two of them for me personally.
Same.
And so we'll be talking about that. But again, so like I said, like this is where we meet Lieutenant Gorman, essentially, and Burke's telling her like we kind of need your help. So and like you've been doing this work that's beneath your skill level, literally. Like you are above this pay grade. You're not supposed to be driving a forklift. And like you said, she tells him to fuck off, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Well, it happens to be on this planet." And she's like, "Rip, what?" And it's like she finds out what planet it is and things like that. And she's like, "Okay." And she eventually decides.
It's because she's sick of having the nightmares.
Yeah. And she eventually decides, I gotta go.
He confronts her in this scene. It's like, yeah, I've read your psych profile. You're always waking up in cold sweats. You're screaming everything.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to get to that line. Let me see. So again, I'm gonna play this a little bit. No sound. You'll see the captions. Get you reinstated. Sorry. Gotta skip it forward a little bit. This is how you. Hold on.
Yeah, it's right here is actually right where it is.
Yeah. This is smooth move, pretty much. Smooth move. This is when you tell, like, it's like, I know you've been waking up from nightmares. I've read your reports.
Yeah.
So he uses a little bit of psychological.
Yeah.
Maybe like take it back just a little bit.
Actually, 30 seconds from this I think might actually be there.
Yeah. Sorry, it needs a buffer a little bit.
Yeah.
I've had my psychological. Yeah, spare me.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I know. I've read it. Every night these streets are soaking with sweat. So, again, we find out about a little bit more about Burke later on, but at this point, he weaves in a little bit of a psychological warfare in a sense. I know it's not exactly warfare, but at the same time, he uses that against her to get her to think about his proposition and then come to the realization and decision that she can't keep running from it. She's going to have to face it again eventually, and she's not going to let it control her.
Yeah.
So she wakes him up in the middle of the night and says, "I'm in," pretty much.
She basically, or she's like, or the only way that she's going is with the assurance that they're going, or just tell me you're going to wipe them out. Not to bring back, not to study, but to eradicate them. Yeah. That's the plan. I'm in.
I wish it would let me go forward.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it to this part here. Because she calls him, like I said, in the middle of the night.
forward arrow.
Never listened to Paul
should
Reiser
do
who
it.
shows up in a movie. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Hey, fuck Norris.
Right here. Yeah.
I love
amazing
like,
how-
I love future technology in old movies, pretty much.
I know. It's like this is now kind of current technology.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, tell me one thing, Burke. You're going out there to destroy them. Not to bring back, but to wipe them out. Yeah, he
Yeah.
cuts him off pretty much. It's like he's like, "All right, man," and doesn't even bother to let him finish.
Pretty much he was
No,
going to
yeah.
say, I think that this is a very good idea.
Yeah, pretty much what he was gonna say. So I'm gonna kind of skip where we see the Marines waking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's
I want to get. Hold on.
another beautiful day in the cool. Just makes you want to.
Yeah,
do whatever.
I love Sergeant Apone. I love Sergeant Apone.
Apone is great.
Okay, this part right here.
Drake and Vasquez, you
Drake
know that
and
those two are
Vasquez start-
banging.
Yeah, have you been mistaken for a man? No.
No,
Have you? All right, a little bit of trivia about these parts. When you see the Marines in this scene in particular, this was filmed last.
Mhm.
These scenes were filmed last, and it worked. It very much worked. The decision the camera made very much worked because you believe the camaraderie. You believe that they actually have that close of a relationship in terms of like how do I put this?
Being
Like
a
they
unit.
they are like in the army they're called battle buddies. In the Air Force they're called wingmen, pretty much. But like you have this sense of like brotherhood and camaraderie, or you would believe that despite the barbs they throw at each other, that they would have each other's backs because they are that close. They are that close. So I guess creative decision on Cameron's part, which actually is very well executed.
Mhm.
I gotta take it back because the stupid thing hides the text. I want it's like what Drake says to her. This is where I get the you're just too bad. Yeah, like I think they're kind of like friends with benefits, or more than just bunk buddies. But anyway, but I get a trivia. This is filmed last.
There we go.
And this part right here is that I'm skipping parts. You all remember this scene with the knife
Yeah.
from Bishop? All right, I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna give a little bit of trivia about it. Go to tab. Okay. Again, you believe that they have they are that close as a squad.
Lance Henriksen really handles that
Okay.
knife very well.
Yeah, so watch this. See Paxton's reactions? See Paxton's reactions chat? What
Mhm.
the? Stream unavailable. What?
We got hit.
Oh, fuck. Let me stop sharing screen. See if
Yeah, we got hit. They pulled us.
Let me see if I stop sharing, if it'll...
I had a feeling that once, or if we got to the knife trick, that's when they would pull us.
Can I refresh it? Like, would that come back? Because I know this happened to Lethal and he's come back.
Oh yeah. Basically got to wait a few or something. Citizen Ronan might actually be onto something. I wonder if it was the closed caption. But it's also that we work on showing some pretty hard, or these scenes are clipped on major channel or on major verified channels.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like you can find these scenes on YouTube, but God forbid you show them on stream. So we might have to, if we get come back, we might have to just like not show the, or just share screen and not like play.
yeah.
How long do I have to wait again?
One thing that I would do if I ever do these kind of streams, like show the things, put in your description, I do not own the rights, the disclaimers.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, good.
Ah,
Welcome back,
fucking
where
YouTube.
YouTube. Fuck you.
Yes.
It's called fair use. We already know, or you should know by common sense, we don't own the fucking rights. But you know what? You guys should let us. We are actually giving you fucking props.
Yes. Discussing a movie where you can find scenes on YouTube. All right, find scenes on YouTube. But God forbid we show them on stream while talking about the film. No audio. Even with captions on, it shouldn't have triggered anything. And maybe it was the knife scene, but for the most part, no sound. So what did it fucking trigger? What did it trigger? But I wanted to show that scene. I particularly wanted to show Paxton's reaction because the way it was originally intended was that Bishop, Lance Henriksen's character, was going to just do it himself, like on his hand, like his own hand. But Henriksen went to Cameron and said, "Why don't we do why don't we do this?" He's like the one who talked to Cameron and said, "Why don't we put one of the Marines' hands underneath? The Hudson's hands underneath, or something like that." Pretty much everyone in that scene knew, but Paxton. But Paxton. So that reaction that you see, much like how the chestbuster scene was filmed in Alien, that was a genuine reaction from Paxton. Because Lance Henriksen, his character is doing this with a knife between his fingers. So him screaming, his screaming is genuine. He was not expecting that. He still went with it. Because he did not break character. Shows you again, gone too soon. Bill Paxton was an amazing actor. He went with it. He did not break character, but his reaction was real. And I think at one point, one of the shots that he had to be reshot. And then in the reshoot, Henderson accidentally kind of clipped Paxton's pinky.
Yeah.
But yeah, his reaction was real.
And the amazing thing is, folks, Lance Henriksen can actually do that trick. They didn't speed the camera up.
Yeah.
Joking, obviously. They actually did.
Yeah, I'm saying, but at the same time, it's like, again, it's like one of those, it's like, we're going to do this, but we're not going to tell the one character. So like when Drake comes around and put Paxton in that bear hug, so he was in on it. It's like, you go around and do this. And Henriksen, you pull Hudson's hand towards you, place your hand over his pretty much. And we got that scene. One of the most iconic scenes in movie history. Shows you how you can pull a scene off and get a genuine reaction. Probably couldn't do it today with the whiners in Hollywood nowadays. But
unless these whiners actually did acting in the 80s.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
Gone too soon.
Gone too soon and killed by the big three.
Yep.
Terminator, Xenomorph, Predator.
Yeah.
Lance Henriksen almost died by all three.
Yeah. So almost.
Close, but no cigar.
But what his character is in Aliens, so it's like,
yeah, it's because of what his character is that he didn't. It's like,
shit. Yes. So it's kind of like 2.5, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show that scene, but now I can't. So what I might have to do is go back and forth and kind of like show a still image for the scene that we're going to be talking about. But now that we're into the introduction of the Marines, all right?
Yeah.
We're introduced to the squad, like the squad, essentially. I have most of their names written down. I didn't include all the Marines because there was a focus on certain ones. I'm not meaning to exclude
Frost,
the other Marines
Drake,
because
Wierzbowski.
yeah, they are part of the squad.
Hicks,
but at the same
Hudson,
time,
Vasquez.
I would say Hicks, Hudson, Vasquez, Drake,
Yep.
Farrow and Spunkmeyer,
Mm-hmm.
Apone and Gorman. Yeah, Spunkmeyer. Yeah,
Spunkmeyer, Wierzbowski. They got some weird fucking names in this movie, folks. They brought in the Polish.
Yeah. So those
Just
are
so
the
they
things
could
that
die.
we're pretty much focused on. Again, not to purposely exclude the other Marine, but for the most part, they were kind of, for one of a better way of putting it, alien fodder. Pretty much.
Xeno fodder.
Yeah, they were pretty much Xeno fodder. Important, but not quite as certain characters. So we'll talk about. Well, we'll start with the privates because there are ranks. We do hear their ranks. So Hudson's a private, Vasquez is a private, Drake is a private, and like those are the privates, pretty much. All right. Hicks is a corporal. Farrow is a corporal. Well, Spunkmeyer is a private. Farrow is a corporal. Apone is a sergeant, and Gorman is a lieutenant. All right. So we're gonna save Gorman for last a little bit because he's the officer, pretty much, and we're gonna save we're gonna save Sergeant Apone for last as well of the enlisted ranks, because
now
he's
isn't
NCO,
a corporal
he's the
above?
NCO, I think.
Isn't a corporal above a sergeant?
Yeah, I'm saying of the NCO ranks. We're gonna save him for last though because he is in charge. I believe corporal is above, but at the same time, Sergeant Apone is the one in charge. So it'd be Apone and Gorman are the ones that are in charge of the group.
Yeah.
Of the squad. So we'll start with the obvious. Let's just talk about all of them. So Hicks, Hudson, Vasquez, Drake, Farrow, and Spunkmeyer, pretty much. In terms of their personalities, like what did you think of like when we were introduced to the Marines? They pretty much wake up from cryos, like hibernation sleep, essentially, much like the crew of the Nostromo does at the beginning of Alien, and right off the bat, you get their personalities. So okay, it's private, corporal, sergeant. Okay, I don't know the ranks that well outside of the Air Force, so forgive me if I mistake him. But so sergeant would be last.
Yeah.
But what do you make? What did you first impressions when you gauge their personalities when you were introduced to them? What did you think of the Marines?
I knew right off that Vasquez and Drake were going to be the badasses that were most likely going to play it loose if they were given too strict of orders. And this was back when I was a kid that I picked up on this shit because I saw Aliens in the late 90s for the first time. Or no, actually I saw it mid 90s for the first time. I was around 10 years old when I saw Aliens. And it's like, these two are definitely going to break rules. These are the rule breakers. Mm-hmm. Hicks, he's just the way that he just carries himself, the way that he just handles himself. Michael Biehn, it's like this dude has seen it all. He's kind of just bored with it all. I mean, you see how the movie will actually support this because I mean they're doing the drop. He's just sleeping during the whole fucking drop.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like he's just been there. You got the badass shit talker freaking Hudson that he just wants to get the fuck out. You find out later on that this is like he was 4 weeks away from getting out. Mm-hmm. He just wants the hell out. But he also likes to talk shit because he's been in the Marines. He's pretty much seen everything there is to see, except for this shit. because we see very quickly that he'll become a whiny little bitch later. No offense to Bill Paxton, dude, I love you. But anyway, your character did kind of do that.
He does turn around a little bit, like for the most, he does kind of turn into a whiny little bitch, but for the most part, the Marine does kick in a little, like a little bit later, and you can see that okay, like he does have that determination still.
Yeah,
there's still that Marine in him, but he was just not necessarily shell shock, but that, like result of that reaction. So
the rest of them, they're strict grunts that will follow orders. Frost is, or the I think Frost is the other female, the one that gets picked up by one of the aliens and lights another dude on fire.
Hold on, let me go back. I do have like IMDb open and it's being slow right now. No, Frost is a male. He's played by Rico Ross.
Oh yeah, he's the other black guy.
The other female is Corporal Dietrich.
Yeah.
Played by Cynthia Dale Scott.
Yeah. She was pretty good. She was basically given insert lines, but not Frost gravy tea. Oh my god, dude.
Frost.
How dare you? How dare you? Just that.
How dare you?
I kill you. But anyway,
Ahmed the
I really did. Yeah, I did. I like the different characters. They all had their own personalities, which were great. And one of the things I loved was Apone and Hudson, how freaking Apone was constantly giving Hudson shit because Hudson was constantly giving everybody else shit. And it's like, Hudson, come here. Come here.
Yeah, pretty much. Come here. And then, like, the scene where Gorman is giving the briefing pretty much, and like opponent's like, Hudson, come here.
Yeah. And he's like, what's a xenomorph? It's a bug hunt. Oh, okay. Yeah. And I love how freaking Vasquez taps in when Ripley is having a hard time giving the thing. She's still suffering from PTSD. I mean, even talking about the shit that happened freaking chokes her up because it's still terrifying.
But to her, like if you think about the time she was in cryo sleep, it's recent to her.
Yeah.
So she's still suffering from that PTSD. But for everyone else around her, it's been 57 years, pretty much.
Yeah, it's shit that happened. It's shit that happened before they were even born. Yeah. And this stuff that for her, it was pretty much fucking a couple weeks ago for her. Yeah, maybe like about a month ago, maybe at most for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and Vasquez is like, look, man, I just need to know one thing: where they are. Being the badass, and she's like, "You finished? I hope you're right. I really do." And that actually shuts Vasquez up. That's the thing that I really like because she actually backs up. She's like, maybe this woman is not crazy, you know?
Yeah, because like at the same time, it's like she didn't go into like a whole spiel about it's like like why Vasquez is wrong, why why she needs to feel this way and so forth. She was like, I hope you do. It's like it's one of those things where it's like in that little bit of dialogue, it's telling Vasquez this woman has actually seen some shit, and you're muted. You're muted.
And then she and then she actually comes out because she can't hold it anymore because it took only 24 hours for one of these things to wipe out my crew.
Yeah, it's like basically for your sake, I hope you can. So when you say those words to someone, like you will shut them up. Yeah, and Trey, I agree with you. It was the eyes as well. Like when Sigourney Weaver's like looking at her, for your sake, I hope.
And that's the wonderful thing. Fucking Hudson. How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, and that's what triggers up opponent. And when I say triggered, I mean like opponent to go like, Hudson, come here.
Yeah, it's like you stole that shit, Hudson, and then then the briefing's done. Hudson, come here. It's like, oh
I wish I could play that scene because I love the sergeant because I'm like, again, I'm speaking from military experience, so I know what it's like to be an NCOIC, or it's like we are the ones when NCOICs, like, yes, like officers outrank us, but we're the ones that get hit with the shit that comes downhill, pretty much. So, like, so we will dish it out to those under us because we're dealing with shit from up top at the same time. So I get where opponent's coming from because he has to deal with Gorman and he has to control his Marines.
Oh yeah.
So I get where he's coming from.
And one of the things about the Marine scenes is that because remember, Terminator was 1984 movie, and you actually see a few Terminator references in this movie, and we'll get to them as we go ahead. Because basically, during one drop, when Hudson's giving off the "we got this, we got that, we got phase plasma rifles with 40 watts and shit." It's like straight out of Terminator. It's like, anything else? Phase 4 plasma rifle, 40-watt range. Oh shit! So did the Terminators take over Earth?
Yeah.
Also, what Gigawatt says, I keep this for close encounters. Hicks pulls out a shotgun. Well, that was one of his favorite weapons in Terminator. Was the shotgun.
I believe I was reading the trivia on James Cameron, because like the crew he was working with they didn't hate Cameron, but they were like fiercely loyal to Ridley Scott. So when Cameron was coming in to take over for the sequel, there was a little bit of, like, when I say animosity, I mean like they weren't exactly willing to work with Cameron because they didn't exactly trust him. They didn't know his style or anything like that. So he invited them to watch Terminator to show what he was capable of. And not everyone showed up. So you can see, like, this is like 2 years after the Terminator, so you could definitely see the references.
Yeah.
So you could definitely see the references. But I wish I could show you. Like, I'll like just share my screen. It's paused, so it's not playing.
Yeah.
Like, this is the briefing scene we're talking about. Again, I wish I could play this. Because, again, this is where you also get a feel for the personalities of the Marines. So, like you said, Vasquez is she and Drake are the badasses. So her mentality is, I just need to know where to point the gun. That's all I need to know. Show me where they are so I know where to point the gun. Pretty much. Hudson.
Because she's heavy weapons. Her and Drake are basically heavy weapon grunts.
Yeah. And Hudson, he's being a wise ass because he wants out. He's 4 weeks away from being able to get out, so he's being a wise ass in the scene, and so forth. And you get again the feel for Hicks and the other Marines and how they are approaching this situation, because the non-commissioned officers, and by non-commissioned officers I mean everyone other than Gorman, have seen their fair share of shit already. So they're coming in with the mentality that they can handle whatever it is that's going to come at them, pretty much, because they've seen everything. To them, they've experienced everything, and then we find out from Gorman that he hasn't. He definitely has not.
He's a fucking paper lieutenant.
Yeah. So. So again,
other people might call it desk jockey.
Yeah. So I will slightly defend Gorman. I'm not trying to defend the company. I'm not trying to necessarily defend the military elements in this film. But from my knowledge of how it would work, if they had all believed Ripley, if they had all, at least prior to this mission, because I don't think they even sending these Marines for essentially for a rescue mission, I don't think they still entirely believe Ripley. It's just something has happened where they've lost contact with the colony and they need to go investigate. I'm pretty sure, and I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm pretty sure if they had all had an inclination that what Ripley said was true and they believed her, they would not have sent Gorman, because he is definitely not a combat lieutenant. He is what Orange called, and that's what we call him, a desk jockey, a paper moving lieutenant, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's it. So, all right. So let's talk about Apone and Gorman, like in their like the differences in their personalities, because you have one who's an NCOIC, which is a non-commissioned officer in charge, and that's Sergeant Apone, and then you have a commissioned officer, Lieutenant Gorman. Their personalities. So, of those two, what do you make of that dynamic?
Apone is basically, he reeks experience.
Mm-hmm.
He is one that will, or he knows how, or he gives off that aura of this is somebody who's been in this life for a bit. Where Gorman, he has the authority, but he feels he has to project it more intensely in order to get people to understand that these are the rules. I mean, literally, Apone has to step in every fucking time every time he speaks, just to get the freaking Marines. It's like, okay, you heard him. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to be like, who the fuck are you again?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to fucking listen to Gorman. Gorman, I mean, they even learn, like I said earlier, they learn he's only done 2 combat drops. He is not a field officer.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen shit. He hasn't been in the mud. He hasn't shed any blood. This is a guy that doesn't fucking...
He's still pretty much wet behind the ears, so he's not seen anything. He's not seen... And like I agree with Roxy, but pretty much the NCO's job is to babysit the freshly printed officers like Gorman. That's pretty much our jobs. And I don't know how the other branches work or anything like that, so I cannot speak at all about the Army, the Navy, or the Marines necessarily in this case. But with the Air Force, and particularly the active duty side, if you had a college degree when you enlisted, you were automatically placed on the track for officer.
Yeah,
so
it's because you actually had intelligence.
And so I encountered officers because I was in the Guard, so we didn't have that fast track pretty much. So I've experienced officers I could tell were like straight on that fast track to lieutenant, pretty much. Never having any experience whatsoever dealing with anything. Like you could tell, you could pick them out. And you could also pick out the officers that used to be NCOs.
Mm-hmm.
You could differentiate between the two very fucking easily. And that's Gorman right here. He is the fast track college degree active duty. You go through this, you're going to be a lieutenant when you're done.
Look at the body language too.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Gorman compared to Apone right there. Gorman is standing straight. He's trying to show off that he has rank, where you see that Apone has the experience. His shoulders are more lowered. He's got bearing. This is a guy that's seen shit compared to Gorman, who is still uptight with a freaking cob up his ass.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Blake. But anyway. But yeah, like there's like, like there are like whenever when I was in the military and we'd say like you stand at attention straight back, arms at your sides, pretty much. And then it's like and they tell us at ease, see how he's holding his hands behind his back? I can't do this without standing up, but basically when we go at ease, what we would do is basically spread our legs a little bit. So we were kind of like, hip width apart and put our hands behind our backs like that, clasp it like that, but still standing at attention, but not a bit more relaxed.
Yeah. But
Apone there again gives off the body language of like, it's like, it's like, I got to deal with this.
He's also taking out his cigar too. So
yeah. Well, I'm saying like, just like, he's more, when I say more relaxed, he has that body language of, I know my men, so I know their personalities. I know how to deal with them. But at the same time, I got to deal with this guy here who has not seen any combat at all. Or experienced only 2 combat drops. So he really has, again, he's essentially a noob when it comes to this. So Apone basically has 2 jobs at this point. Leading his men and babysitting a lieutenant.
Yep.
Pretty much. So that's the body language Apone gives off in this scene, pretty much.
And it's also basically a very dangerous job when you have to think about it, because this dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. One, you're kind of stuck because you can't override him. Two, you have to fucking listen to him, even though he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah. So like he's basically literally putting a opponent between a rock and a hard place at this point.
I mean, this guy is literally more of a danger to their operation than he is an asset.
Yes. Again, I'm going to defend. He does have a redemption. I'm talking about Gorman. He does have a redemption. Yes, I know, Blake. I saw Dan's comment.
He's probably going to clip that.
Oh, I have no doubts. That's
going to be clipped.
Somehow, I don't think it can. It's not like showing me as a clip option on my stream over on the YouTube side, but somehow I figure they will find a way to do it.
Oh,
but anyway,
they will.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, out of context, go with that quote, Dan. But anyway, all right. So I'm gonna try to skip through things. I'm gonna stop sharing because I don't want to get hit again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get to where they finally land. Oh no, actually, before I do. All right, so we're talking about the Marines. Which ones or ones are your favorite or favorites, pretty much?
I have two favorites, which is Hicks and I have three because Hicks, Hudson, Vasquez.
Okay.
Hudson because he's so freaking fun to watch. Hicks because he's the freaking badass that just has done everything, so he's kind of bored. And Vasquez because she knows how to freaking blast everything to shit because she's not going to put up with any shit.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I have two with a nod to one, pretty much. It's technically like three like you, but one, like the third is more of a nod based on just my experience in the military.
Yeah.
But the two I like are Vasquez and Hudson. Those are my favorites. I love Vasquez, not just because she's a badass, but she has that, again, like it's coming from more for like, you know, like a personal to me, like based on like my personality and what I kind of gravitate to, what I relate to. And that is like her quips back and forth, even with Drake. All right. Because that's typical, like kind of my personality. If you like follow me on Twitter, you kind of see like, you know, how I interact with some people. So like when Vasquez is talking, like I relate to that pretty much. I relate to that.
Well, she's a problematic cunt like you.
Yeah, pretty much. I own that shit. And then Hudson, because again, like I love Bill Paxton as an actor, and again, kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I like that, like, you know, he brought, like, yeah, he was a wise ass, but he wasn't a dick about it, if that makes sense. Pretty much, it was like you could still laugh at him. Pretty much, you still, like, you know, it's like I would still, I would like still defend you. Basically, I'd still be your wingman essentially. So like, you know, because you could because there's like times when people will play a wise ass and they kind of swan dive over that into dick territory where you're just a jackass pretty much. I can't like, you know, or anything like that. Like you don't have like the personality is like off. But Paxton plays it in such a way that you still love him, regardless of him being a wise ass. At the same time, you still love him. So, and then for me, a little nod, mainly because she's the pilot and because I was in the Air Force, and that is Corporal Farrow.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And at one point, I did have aviator sunglasses, and they are no more because they broke pretty much. But at one point, I did have aviators, so if I still had them, I'd be wearing them on screen for her character, pretty much, Corporal Farrow. So like nod based on that, pretty much, like, you know, from my experience. Oh fuck hell, Trey.
Oh shit! Told you.
That's because he was context. It's kind of how Sigma do. Yeah, pretty much. Michael Biehn should have been bigger. Michael Biehn actually was not originally supposed to play Hicks. It was James Raymar was supposed to play Hicks. And at one point, like as per the trivia I read, let me see if I can find it again, because there's a scene where it's not Michael Biehn in the armor. It's actually James Raymar or Raymar. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
Raymar. I really do like James Remar. He is such a freaking.
Oh, he's a good actor. He's a good actor. But he was originally cast in the role of Hicks.
Then they put him in something else, I believe.
So he was the reason, like, according to James Remar, I'm trying to find the trivia. He was the reason why he lost the role is because he was busted for drug possession.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Because there was like rumors going around that he was cut because of creative differences with James Cameron, but according to like a segment. What? Come on, I want to fucking find it. Like Remar saying no, that's not the case. It was never about any creative differences. It was because I was busted because I had a drug problem back then.
Notice how actors nowadays will freaking just come straight out and say, "Yeah, it wasn't creative differences." They always cite fucking creative differences. One actor, I can't remember who it was. They came out and straight up said, if they're saying that it was creative differences, they're fucking lying to you.
Yeah.
It's the
I
go-to.
Line, oh man, I was getting short 4 more weeks and out, and now I'm gonna bite it on this rock. 4 more, yeah. Like, yeah. So, but the trivia is, it says, of all the cast who were to play the Marines, with the exception of Michael Biehn, who replaced James Remar, he was replaced Remar 1 week into filming, and there's a scene where it's not Biehn in the gear. And where is it? I know I read it on IMDb's page. Hold on. Let me see if I can do Control F. Okay. Hicks was originally played by James Remar, but Michael Biehn replaced him a few days after principal photography began. And Remar admits it was because he had he was busted for drug possession. He said that was a period in his life where he said he had developed a terrible drug problem. But Remar still appears in the finished film. He is seen for one shot when the Marines enter the alien nest. Because he is seen from behind wearing the same armor as Michael Biehn, it's impossible to tell the difference between the two actors. So there's one scene in the movie, and that's when they encounter the alien nest, that is actually James Remar in the armor, not Michael Biehn. So
I'm going to have to now go back and watch that.
Yeah, so according to the trivia, so you are looking at James Remar in that scene.
Nice.
So again, wish I could play it, but I can't.
Remar is a actor that has been in everything, and yet you don't know who he is. Sadly, I mean, unless you know who he is.
Yeah, which was the case because I recently not too long ago rewatched The Warriors, and I was looking at him going, he looks really fucking familiar. So I had to look up the movie to get the cast.
I mean, the last movie that I saw him in, not necessarily in a chronological order, was The Quest with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like he's one of those faces where it's like, I know I've seen him. Why am I not remembering him? But I know I've seen him in the movies. Yeah. So, but he's one of those actors where it's like you've seen him, but you don't remember you've seen him sometimes. Pretty much.
Oops, sorry about that.
But anyway. So, but again, I gotta skip some parts because again, can't play it, and it does have a little bit of a slow build until they find the nest and where they find Newt. So here is, I'm gonna try to wait for it to buffer and take it because I have to play. I can't play it, so I gotta do screen by screen.
Funny piece of trivia here. Kieran Shaw, a very famous small person actor, has played in Legend, has played the stunt double for Elijah Wood, or the scale double for Elijah Wood in Lord of the Rings, and many others. He plays Newt's stunt double in this film.
Oh, wow. Let's see if I can get... Okay, it's buffering for me. I can't. First, it's buffering it. I have to try to either refresh it or what. I can't risk playing sound right now. But they find Newt. She goes by Newt, but her real name is Rebecca. And she has the nickname Newt that her family gave her. And we find out that she's the only surviving person in this colony. And he's been surviving by hiding in the ventilation system.
She basically turned that place into a shanty and was literally just going to the mess hall to get food every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is where it's like a little bit of a nitpick for me, where it's I'm like, it's not exactly a stretch of the imagination to believe that this girl could survive that long, or anything like that. But the nitpick I have is that it was that long, and the alien somehow never found her. Given how even with the hive mind, given how intelligent xenomorphs can be,
They would have found her, yeah, definitely. I mean, they basically speak through they're basically of one mind as a hive mind.
So for me, it's like, it's more of a nitpick. It's not exactly like it's like it's something that's going to take away from my enjoyment of the film. But I was like, yeah, I watched this again later on, because I watched it when I was a kid, and I watched it later on more as an adult, and I'm like, that's a little bit of a stretch of imagination to believe that she could have survived as long as she did. I'm not going to hold it against the film, but like that's where I come from pretty much. And Trey points out that xenomorphs have heightened senses, so I'm like, they would have found her.
Roxxam, xenomorphs would win that battle because there's nothing that the Borg can adapt to with them. The Borg adapt to energy. They can't adapt to acid blood.
Sorry, I'm muted because I had to refresh the website so I could show the scene.
Yeah. All right. Also, funny thing, folks, if you've seen me been flipping a coin, it's my Shield Hydra coin, which is actually pretty interesting because Bill Paxton played a Hydra agent in Agents of Shield. So there's another nice little piece of trivia for you. Until he got blown to smithereens by Coulson.
So I'm playing the movie to get to the scene, because this is where they find Newt. They think she's possible a xenomorph because they're picking up
movement
on the tracker. They're picking up movement. Yeah. So they're going towards the vent, and I love how they have their guns pointed at the vent. And it's little girl.
It's like freaking Drake is there with his big ass gun.
I'm just gonna show this how it kind of looks. So you got Drake with his big ass gun right there. So you have, I believe that's Frost in the middle. He's the one looking at the tracker. Then there's Hicks, and they're all kind of moving as one towards the ventilation system. It's like there's something in there that could possibly be dangerous. They got to stop sharing the screen so I can play it and get to where they find Newt. So you imagine this little girl who's been hiding from xenomorphs, these creatures, for the longest time. They be found and then have these guns pointed at her.
Well, maybe they did find her, but she kept on biting their asses every time they tried to get her. I mean, because that girl
is trying to escape. Because they are. I wish I could play this scene because she does go underneath the ventilation system, and they're you're trying to get her, and she's underneath the grates.
So maybe she's too small or she can go into things that are small enough that they can't.
That's the only reason I can think of, because I'm looking at this going, the aliens should have at least known that she was there. Their senses are that heightened. They should have at least known that she was there. But Ripley eventually wins her trust. And the reason why Ripley, in a sense, wins her trust is because Ripley is coming from the perspective of being a mother. Even though she missed her daughter, her daughter's nearly her entire life, she still has that mother instincts. So she's able to when I say alter her personality, I mean to kind of have that mother instinct come out, so she becomes a bit softer in her approach to Newt, because she's realizing that the Marines are scaring the hell out of her. The xenomorphs has already scared the hell out of her, and the Marines are doing the same thing pretty much, because Newt has lost her entire family. She's gone through this traumatic experience, so Ripley's realizing that she's going to have to kind of soften her approach with Newt. It's like you can't
Yep.
exactly be the badass necessarily around this girl who's like gone through some scary experiences.
Got my camera off because I'm moving.
Oh, fine. But anyway, again, I wish I could play these scenes so you could see, but that's eventually how Ripley gains her trust, and that is she calmly approaches her as a mother would. And I feel like that adds a lot more strength to her character, a lot more dynamic to her character, so she's not just a one-dimensional like warrant officer badass survivor from the first one. She is a mother. She's essentially first and foremost a mother in this sense, because she's seeing a girl about the same age as she left her daughter, about 11 years old, who's lost her entire family, and the mama bear starts coming out. It really comes out in the final encounter when we meet the queen alien, because you got mama bear against mama bear in that sense. But in this case, you do see the mother. I believe that makes her a stronger character, because current day feminazis tend to
Shy away from that.
well, not just shy away from that, but
Outright condemn it.
conflate strength with merely just physical strength, with and so forth, and they completely forget or ignore mental and emotional strength, which is what Ripley demonstrates in this film. She has to demonstrate a mental strength because she's again going back to a planet that was the catalyst, literally, for one of the worst experiences she's ever gone through in her entire life. And like one day, literally 24 hours, where you have a xenomorph take out everyone she's known, pretty much, her crew, her comrades, her friends, and emotional strength because she has to take care of this girl who has lost her entire family. She has to protect her. So she can't just be a one-dimensional badass. She has to demonstrate all three: physical strength, mental, and emotional at this stage.
Yep.
In Aliens. And these feminazis will always claim that men cannot write strong female characters, and we have literally one of the strongest iterations of female characters in Ripley in Aliens. Literally one of the strongest iterations of a female character, because you have all three demonstrated in this film: physical, mental, and emotional strength in one character who happens to be female. One of the best written female characters. Nothing against how Ridley Scott portrayed her in Alien, because she's a badass, but I think, to James Cameron's credit, I think he does a better job in this case with the direction he takes her character.
Well, with Sigourney Weaver basically helping guide him.
Well, yeah, I'm saying with her helping guide him, basically, because I'm not nothing against Ridley Scott, but that was like her first iteration of the character. So it was like when she's giving Cameron notes, she's going off her experience with Ridley Scott in 1979 with how they developed her character then. So fast forward to 1986 when James Cameron takes over, she's like, I know this character. I know how she would react. I know how she would respond in certain situations. So I don't think she would react this way. I think she would react this way. And it still goes with the direction that Cameron's taken her character, and that is the motherly instincts, the mother instincts. And whenever Newt is introduced, at least whenever she's found by the Marines, because she's already introduced early on in the film pretty much, but whenever she's found by the Marines, that's when we see the other side of Ripley.
Yeah.
And as Trey points out, she's also likable.
Mm-hmm.
She's
and
not.
That's the one.
Yeah, go ahead.
That is one of the things that I like about Ripley. It's like she has that motherly gravity toward her or around her, that aura about being a ma, but she also has that authority where kind of does step into the mother area. It's like, this dude's freaking the fuck out. You need to calm your ass down, when she's telling Hudson to shut up and square that, or basically calm your ass down. It's like, dude, get a lid on it.
Yeah.
She's also kind of drawing from that motherly
So this is the
area.
area this is the area that eventually Newt leads Ripley to, because she's in the ventilation system. So she's kind of like created like a little, as you described, like a little shanty for herself in an area where, again, like looks kind of like where the aliens can't get into, but at the same time they should have at least known she was there and been on the lookout for her. Where I say the stretches of imagination happen pretty much. But this is where they found Ripley, and the little girl does a good job. She's essentially uncommunicative for a good chunk because she's gone through post-traumatic stress. She's still in shock, and she doesn't know if she can trust them yet. So she's not going to.
She has seen shit.
Yeah, she's not going to be overly communicative. But again, I think this actress, if she had stayed in Hollywood, probably could have gone on, because she demonstrates, even as a child actor, that she can still convey emotion without speaking words.
Mm-hmm.
And how she's reacting around the Marines and how she reacts around Ripley and so forth. There's also credit to James Cameron as a director and how he approaches the character, but at the same time, it's like she doesn't have any dialogues. The only thing that we can gauge from her responses is her facial expressions, her eye, how like her eyes and so forth, and how and her body language.
The scene here, or in this scene where Ripley grabs her before she can go into another duct, and she starts holding her, and she pulls the hair out of her face. She's staring off, or what we see is that she is staring off.
Mm-hmm.
But it almost makes you wonder, what is she seeing as she's staring off?
Mm-hmm.
This is a girl who most likely saw her brother, her mother, and her father get face hugged and most likely chest burst.
Mm-hmm.
She has seen things
definitely her
that
father,
no child should see.
Definitely her father, because he came out with a face hugger on him, like in the scene early on. So she would have at least seen that.
And not only that, you get the hope, because that thing finally comes off of him, mm-hmm. and you get the hope that everything might now just be okay. But then we all know what happens. The dang thing bursts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is some of the most horrifying shit a kid could go through, and she plays that so freaking well.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to this, scene, where she's holding her.
Yeah.
So just to give you, guys a gauge of what we're talking about, since I can't show it, I don't want to risk getting pulled again. But Ripley's holding her from that. She's holding on to her because, this girl is going to escape if she doesn't. Mm-hmm. Right? But Ripley doesn't yell or anything. She's, just starts, just trying to get her to calm down, rocking her back and forth. Kind of like what a mother would do with a baby whenever a baby's upset. What we do, basically, we rock them back and forth, get them to calm down that motion and so forth. Telling her, shh, shh, things like that. Just hey, you're safe, pretty much. Telling, letting this girl know, and without outright saying it, is you're safe.
Yeah.
You're safe now. Can't exactly definitively say that, but at the same time, again, this is mother instinct coming out. She starts rocking her her child, essentially, calming her, being there for her, and then you still have the look on Newt's face where it's she is still going through this shock, the experience in her mind. She's still seeing that.
And that's another thing with Ripley, because this is kind of in a sense, this is her able to be the mother that she couldn't have, or she couldn't be for her daughter, Amanda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. Oh, good night, Hound. Sorry. That's what I said. It's where it's I prefer Ripley. As much as I love Ripley in the first one, I prefer her character in this one because you have that added layer dynamic of her being a mother in this case, and I think it makes her a stronger character. Because far too often, particularly in recent films, is again physical strength, to be comparable to male characters. They only focus on the badassery of physical strength and fighting skills and so forth, but they completely forget completely forget mental and emotional, which is what we get from Ripley's character in this film.
Mhm.
So again, I wish I could show these scenes because when the aliens first appear is when shit goes down. And when I say shit goes down, I mean like shit goes down.
And another
It
thing
is like
is,
one of the situations where like they weren't ready for it at all.
yeah, and not only that, they had to be limited because weapons technology has evolved so much that they're firing light ammo penetrating rounds as standard rounds. And you're in basically a nuclear reactor down in those areas. So they had everybody collect clips or collect mags. Well, as I pointed out about Drake and Vasquez, they turn over their mags, but they pull out their freaking auxiliaries and they're like, and give each other their auxiliaries. It's like, hell yeah, Vasquez is like, oh,
Yeah.
you guys are
they were told they could only carry like certain ammunition, and you see both Vasquez and Drake earlier on in the movie going like, basically fuck that, we're gonna carry because like like we're not gonna trust you to tell us like what ammunition to carry, pretty much.
Yeah. And
See that doesn't exactly make any sense because the reason why the humans come is because they lost radio contact, which I believe the aliens would have at least to do. So it doesn't make sense that they would have left Newt alive to lure the humans because the humans would have to at least know that there was a survivor because at the point they don't.
Exactly.
Or care
and
that
not only that,
one
as
survivor.
as soon as they arrive, why didn't the xenomorphs start going after them?
Yeah. That's why I said, it's like I could see maybe that they were aware of Newt, they just couldn't get to her. But I don't think they kept her alive to lure more people to the colony because at that point they were already lured with losing contact with the colony.
They already have a nest established.
Yeah.
They are basically anything else in that nest is or coming towards the nest is considered a threat. Now, yeah, they will, or the queen continues to lay eggs and she needs more hosts, but they're also not afraid to kill if need be.
Mm-hmm. See, that would be giving them the xenomorphs, like, again, they're very intelligent. They're very intelligent creatures, but at the same time, it's like they're not looking at humans as the enemy. They're looking at them as food, pretty much, as a way to breed. So humans wouldn't necessarily be would essentially be the enemy, but at the same time, it's like they're not viewing them as the enemy until they experience the Marines. To the aliens, they're just hosts. So the
also the colonists, they didn't really have weapons. So seeing these having these Marines fight back is essentially, it's like, well, oh shit, okay, these ones are dangerous.
Yeah, so that would be the aliens realizing the Marines are dangerous because they're not all about probing anyone's mind necessarily to figure anything out. And they certainly wouldn't be interrogating a child or probing a child's mind because she would know nothing. Would know nothing. And I'm saying, I'm coming from the perspective of how the aliens are acting. This is their first, this would be their own first experience dealing with Marines, essentially. So it's the Marines' first experience dealing with the Xenomorphs and the Xenomorphs' first time experiencing the Marines. So both sides are not exactly prepared for the other, but the Xenomorphs are able to adapt faster because of their hive mind.
Trey, their thinking in some ways actually does surpass human intellect simply because of their basic thinking. We tend to overthink. We tend to do complex thinking when there are certain things that just require a very simple solution. Or a good example is how Ripley interacts with the Queen. She shows the Queen what her weapon can do, and then she points it straight at the eggs.
Yeah.
Basically, the Queen gets the hint. Okay, you guys back off. Let them go.
Yeah. And see, this also doesn't make any sense because later on in the film, when Newt is finally caught by the Xenomorphs, they do cocoon her.
Mm-hmm.
They do cocoon her, so they don't leave her alone because she's too small. Maybe they don't see her as a threat necessarily, but she's definitely not too small for them to use her for a face hugger. So you do see her cocooned.
Mhm.
That's where Ripley finds. So I think it's more. If I were to explain it, I think it's more the fact that they are aware of her presence, but they can't get to her.
Yeah,
They
it's
can't get to her.
essentially
She's able
she's
to
too
sneak in
damn
and out.
small
a
to
little
get
fast.
to.
Yeah, and she's able to sneak in and out of places like a little bit faster than, like, say, an average sized human would be able to do, pretty much.
Yep.
Speaking of the 7 feet tall thing, the original, first film, Alien, the actor playing the xenomorph, or like what was known as a xenomorph, was 7 feet tall because they wanted someone very tall to give that perspective of it towering over the cast. But given the fact that Cameron wanted to use a lot more aliens in this film, hence the title, they couldn't get a bunch of 7-foot actors.
No.
So basically, they had a bunch of 6-foot stuntmen in the costumes because Cameron figured, well, there's going to be very few scenes where you actually see the aliens and the humans interacting, so forth. So we can get away with that pretty much. But yeah, like that's where like what happened to horns were 7 feet tall, pretty much. Yeah, but the actor playing the xenomorph, the alien in the first film, was 7 foot tall.
And not only that, technically, the xenomorph that was in the first one and the xenomorphs here are slightly, or they actually did come up with a good explanation as to why they are different. Why one has the smooth dome and one has the more bony head. It's because when a xenomorph is not really close to the hive, you will see less of a hive structured head.
Mm-hmm.
When they are more out and about, you will get the more smooth dome,
I think,
so to speak.
yeah, I think this is the explanation for, like, once like the expanded universe started coming to being for the xenomorphs. Yeah, the first alien, I believe, would be a drone, and the other ones and the aliens are soldiers. So you do have that much like a literal hive. You do have the hierarchy.
So, oh yeah, you got the drones, you got the soldiers, you got the Praetorian, and then you got the Queen. Praetorians are essentially, they got the crest of a queen, but they're not as big.
Okay, it says there was also a discarded plot device that they had stingers. It was meant to explain how people end up taken so fast. Originally, a tail was going to get Gorman in the APC. All right. So again, like, literally taken from the hierarchy of a hive, pretty much.
Yeah.
So hello, Teresa. Good to see you.
Hey.
So yeah. Again, sorry, Chad. I wish I could actually show some of these things that we're talking about, or some of these instances that we're talking about, but I got pulled for a little bit because I had the infamous knife scene with Bishop and Hudson on, and no sound, still got hit. Have no fucking clue how. Still got hit. So I'd imagine some little pencil pushing prick at their desk is like monitoring YouTube to make sure that no one's like showing stuff they shouldn't be filming. Hey, Poet Scotty. Even though it's fair use.
We need another eccentric rich person to buy YouTube.
Yeah, even though it's fair use, I'm not breaking any copyright law or anything. I'm not making any money off of it or anything like that. Nothing. I'm not doing anything like that whatsoever fucking ever. We're just talking about a movie, but God fucking forbid we show scenes from something we're talking about.
In fact, or not only that, we're actually giving the frickin' movie props. We're not complaining about it or bitching about it. We're actually doing something positive for fucking 20th Century Fox and well, sadly, Disney. I mean, speaking of which, does this mean that the Queen is a Disney princess?
Yeah, it would mean the Queen is a Disney princess. So Ripley killed a Disney princess.
So
we got two Disney princesses fighting each other at the end of this movie. If you think about it.
There you go.
If you think about
Battle of the Disney Princesses.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, scenes with no audio. Again, muted it, so it's no audio. So there's no way anybody could record it because there's no sounds or anything like that. They would be getting a mute video if they did. Still got pulled. So, but anyway.
I'm guessing it might be the fact that we were also using a product of Disney in order to show a product of Disney,
Yeah.
meaning movies anywhere.
Again, I wish I could show these scenes
Yeah.
because let me take it back about 15 seconds. Let me play it so I can get a good shot. We're about halfway through the film, and you think a bunch of the Marines have been taken out in one way or another, pretty much.
Yeah.
So these are like the stragglers. These are the survivors, and Gorman's knocked out. So like whenever you see like the stretcher in this shot that I'm going to show you, that's Gorman. He's been knocked out. He's wounded. He's injured. And it's about halfway through the film, as you can see here. And you think this is like a scene that would normally happen at the end of the film, where it's like we're going to escape. No, we're thwarted. But in this case, it happens halfway through. So now it becomes literally survival for the remaining half of the film. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including Newt.
Yeah.
Against we don't know how many xenomorphs, hundreds, maybe even thousands. I mean, it's a
158.
158, pretty much. All right.
Colonists. So without Newt, that's 157.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody probably killed one alien because they found the melted decks. So that's probably 156.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Now, another thing that a lot of people know that aliens for is the turkey elephant, which is the noise that
I don't know how I
have.
can do this because this is through Movies Anywhere. I'd have to find a way to like download it and do like a whole flip the footage sort of situation. I can't do it through Movies Anywhere.
Yeah.
And I blame Mazda too, Gravy. I wish I could. Someone up ahead, I think it was like Citizen Ronan said that like there's a streamer he watches that basically does a slideshow. Maybe for the next stream I'll figure out something like that so I can like pick out scenes and so forth or whatever. But wish I could play some of this because this is another fairly iconic scene, and that is where we see the end of Corporal Farrow and Private Spunkmeyer. And we don't see Spunkmeyer's death, but again goes to the intelligence of the xenomorph, and the xenomorph realized that it could go up the ramp into the ship because they call Farrow. She and Spunkmeyer are like off. They don't go in with the Marines because they're the ones that are going to swoop in and rescue them, pretty much, or swoop in and like take them back to the main ship, pretty much.
Yeah.
And this is where Farrow and Spunkmeyer meet their demise, and you don't see. And I love how the fact that you don't see it. Essentially, I mean, you do and you don't with Farrow. You don't see Spunkmeyer, but if he didn't die from the xenomorph, he died in the crash, so you know he's dead.
Or he got pulled for Cocoon.
Well, I mean, no, there's no way he could have, pretty much, because she was in air. She was in the air. So there's no way he could have been pulled from a cocoon because he's coming up the ramp and he finds like what looks to be like the ooze from the aliens, and she basically tells him to get his ass in the ship, but they gotta go. So if the xenomorph didn't kill him, or at least, how do I put this? Impair him in some way.
Yeah,
he's dead regardless. Yeah, like he's dead regardless. Yeah, 158 colonists and their families. So let's put it this way: they are grossly outnumbered. These Marines and Ripley are grossly outnumbered.
Hadley's Hope population 158. Mm-hmm. So that is with families included.
So, what else? Oh, okay. So, but still, again, grossly outnumbered. But anyway, I love how you don't exactly see what happens to Farrow. I love how all you see is the blood.
And her
she looks behind her, she's
her arm just jerking.
Yeah, I'm saying, but you don't see what the xenomorph does to her. You know she's dead. But you don't see what it does to her. And I appreciate that about what Cameron does. Because he leaves it up to the audience's imagination, where it's like we know she's gonna die. Regardless, and their escape is now they're fucked. They're fucked. And
Game
still, like,
over,
throw it
man.
in.
Game over.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to play this scene, is because of that line.
I know.
After the ship crashes, that's when Hudson kind of has a little breakdown, and that's that. And another bit of trivia is that line was ad-libbed.
Yeah.
That line was
Also,
ad-libbed.
Pharaoh, the way she dies, I think I think Sean Patrick Flannery from Boondock Saints in the audio commentary for the second movie said it best. Squeeze her to the dome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
pretty
just
much.
say that.
Yeah. The best lines ad-libbed. And there's even like speculation that his line, Hudson's line, basically we're going elevator to hell going down, pretty much.
Run an express elevator to hell.
Elevator to hell going down was ad-libbed as well, because can't be found in the shooting script. So he likely ad-libbed that line as well. Again, gone too soon, pretty much. But best lines ad-libbed. And Bill Paxton was an example of that in this film.
I believe he died because of a botched surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which sucks.
So
I could ask her, but I don't dare say her name out loud.
Oh, well.
Even with headphones on.
Mm-hmm. But
I've learned that lesson.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, I wish I could play this part, but the ship crashes. Pharaoh and Spunkmeyer are no more, and now the survivors are really fucked, pretty much, because they had to figure out a way to get off this planet and survive in the process, because they're dealing with hundreds of xenomorphs.
Also, one of the dumbest lines was in this scene, too, where it's like, what the fuck are we going to do? What the fuck are we doing? And fucking Burke just chimes in, well, we could always just stand around and build fires and sing. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you right now?
So I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of dumb, but at the same time, it's like being in the military, the way, like, again, Burke is not a military guy, he's more of a corporate guy. But I kind of understand that sarcastic type of almost dark humor. And as we would have to have that in order to survive certain zones, combat zones and things like that, or we'd lose our minds. So that, to be honest, that would be something that I would say in this situation, but I say it more like this. So like, when someone asks, like, what the hell are we going to do? What the fuck are we going to do? It's like, so I don't know, let's build a fire and sing Kumbaya. What the fuck do you think we're going to do? Pretty much. That's what I would say, pretty much. So I get where Burke's coming from. It's not exactly come across well, but that's essentially what I would do. Like
I feel like that could have been Hut or Hicks' line, but fucking Burke picked it up instead. It's like, oh shit, did you accidentally read my line?
Yes, seemed like he was trying to calm everyone down. Would have been a little bit of a better way of putting it in the script, because that line in itself was something that Hicks would have said. I agree with Orange Hat. It's more of something that Hicks would have said, because feels like it would be coming from someone in the military, something like that, versus a corporate guy. That's what it come across as me. I'd been there after the dropship crashed. Had I been, oh, thank God my name wasn't on the dispatch. Just like that, we would have that dark humor. We would have that dark humor, because we would lose our fucking minds if we didn't. So on one hand, it doesn't come across. It doesn't exactly come across as something that Burke would say necessarily, but at the same time, I could see someone saying that in that situation because of my military mentality. And yes, speaking of Burke, we'll talk about this real fast, because Burke, we find out, is the antagonist, or is an antagonist. Not exactly like Ash, but very similar, because he wants to make money off of it.
Yeah, because while they're there, Bishop is studying the face huggers, because two of them were alive because they ripped two of them off the faces of a couple colonists and ended up killing the colonists, taking it off.
Yeah.
And that scene where the guy brings in a thing to Bishop and Bishop just turns around and looks at him. It's like, Okay. Is there something wrong with Bishop, or is there not something wrong with Bishop?
Mhm.
And thank you, Trey Courtney, because I know for a fact you slayed that troll really fast.
Yeah.
Or the
I
bot,
don't know what
rather.
it is with I don't know what it was with these stupid bots, but yeah, thank you, Trey. Yeah, it's like where it does look like they're going to tread the same territory with Bishop, but it ends up being Burke. And yeah,
Yeah.
it is essentially the evil company, but at the same time, it's more of Burke wanting to make a buck off of it.
Because he's
he knows
telling
he'll pay
them,
money for them.
yeah, it's like we could, or we can easily, how are they going to figure it out? We can easily slip them through Frozen, and it's like, and I love how Ripley immediately tells him fuck off, or essentially fuck you. They're going to know because I'm going to tell them.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
because she
really,
also found out Burke set that fucking colony up.
Yeah. That's another thing that we find out, and that is like Burke sent the colonists to that derelict ship. Like he specifically had them go to that so that way they could claim it. Yep. So he's the one who he's the reason why all the shit's going down in the first place. But in this case, it's not like oh yeah, the company's like including this guy because they have an ulterior motive sort of situation. It's not necessarily the company. It's more just Burke wanting to sneak these through to make a fast buck. And then because Ripley tells him, I'm going to rat on you first chance I fucking get when we get home because of like what you're telling me and the fact that you're the sole cause essentially of what's going on here. That's when Burke traps both Ripley and Newt with the facehuggers with the intention of getting them essentially impregnated with a chest buster so he could sneak in that way.
Yeah.
So he's willing to sacrifice a child.
Yeah, that just shows you how fucking evil that dude is.
To get these creatures through security.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Spartan Flash Century. Oh my god. Weyland-Yutani got bought out by Walmart.
The military got bought out by Walmart, yes.
And I thought Disney was evil.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, and I was going to say that he was also going to yeet everyone else's cryopods so there was no witnesses. So
yeah,
Ash was a bastard, but he was not an android. He was a robot, an android essentially, who was programmed. He was like that was his programming. Bring back the specimen. Everything else is expendable, crew expendable, things like that. His primary program is to bring back a specimen. So he was literally programmed. So yeah, he's essentially the antagonist in the first one, but at the same time, he's literally going by orders programmed into him. Whereas Burke, he's just a shit character. He's a piece of shit.
He's motivated by greed.
Yeah, and Paul Reiser
he's worked for the company.
Wow, he plays a slimy character. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm saying I think Burke is the worst of the two, just given the fact that he was willing to sacrifice a child, and he was greedy.
Yeah. One of the things I do like before that scene.
Yeah.
One of the things I like before that scene is after their first initial run-in with the Xenos, Ripley is like, "We nuke the site for more." Well, we can't really do that, or this place is expensive. They can bill me.
Yeah, I know. I love that scene. Like they can.
She can't, or it's like they can bill me. Well, come on, we got to think about this. We could easily, or there's a lot of things that we got wrong. She's had enough. It's like,
yeah.
And I like how Hicks is basically trying to get with her, but he's also agreeing with her because it's also the logical thing. We'll nuke the site for more. Got to be sure, right?
Yeah, and she also points out that with Gorman out of commission and Sergeant Apone pretty much dead, Hicks is in command. He's the next highest.
And he doesn't like that either.
Yeah,
because when she asked him, it's like, "Is that right, Corporal?" Yeah,
he doesn't want to be in charge.
It's like, I don't want to be in charge, but I will be in charge because I have
Yeah.
no choice of being in charge.
Yeah. So, and yeah, so again, I like how this happened about, like I said, halfway through the film, because this is a typical scenario that would generally happen near the final minutes of the film, where you think that everything's thwarted and they somehow pull out a win, pretty much. But it's halfway through, so now it's all about survival. From here on out, it's all about survival for these remaining Marines and Ripley and Newt and Burke and Bishop.
Yeah. Now, also, they ask how long before we're overdue. 17 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
they survived 17 days.
And then we find out, no, they can't stay there because there's outgassing from the reactor. So they pick it up. It's like, how long before it blows? 4 hours. Oh, shit. Okay, now you guys got to get out of there in 4 hours.
Yeah.
Blast radius of 30 kilometers. 40 megatons. Whew.
Yeah. So again, I gotta skip some things. So I do want to talk about Gorman a little bit because, like I said, he does have redemption. He does. I'm gonna stop sharing because I don't want to accidentally play anything. So he does have a redemption. And when I get to that where he goes out like a boss.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna skip over finding out about Burke. There's a scene where they have to escape again, and Vasquez is
rat fuck right now, man.
Yeah, Vasquez is injured.
Yeah, she gets. I love how she gets injured. I mean, she just does foot to the freaking Xenomorph's head, pinning it, and just blasts it with her pistol. Unfortunately, it's bats.
Yeah.
But at least she has a badass line, you know. You're always an asshole, Gorman.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm not gonna play this, but it starts from this scene pretty much. It's after she's injured because the acid blood from the aliens injures her leg, so she's unable to walk. She's unable to move, and gets to the part where Gorman is coming up from behind Hicks. Ripley and Hudson and Newt Ripley and Newt are up ahead. And Gorman is the one that goes back. He doesn't order Hicks to go back, because Gorman could have easily done that. He is the officer. So he outranks Hicks by a mile, essentially. And he decides to go back to get Vasquez. Hey, Phil. Gets her. Starts pulling her, but then they are surrounded by aliens. Then they themselves are surrounded by aliens. And at that point, you see it on Gorman's face. Again, how you act, Hollywood. This is how you act in a movie, where you don't have to do a complete exposition in every fucking line. You can see it in his face that he realizes that they are fucked. There's no way they are getting out. No way both of them are getting out. He'd either have to leave Vasquez to the aliens to escape, which he will not do. And he can't take her, and he can't take her with him. So he pulls out a grenade and kills both of them.
And this grenade is this fucking big too.
Yeah, it's equivalent to what we would those portable chargers that you could buy in stores. That's about as big as it is.
Yeah, I mean, folks, it's literally about this big, a clothespin. I mean, just you press it like that, and there you go, boom, and it's big enough to freaking blow out the entire tunnel structure.
And also
whatchamacallit structure.
Yeah, he also knew that Hicks was more equipped to help Ripley in case things went south. But at the same time, it's again, this is an officer that's not seen this shit, so he was out of his depth. So, like I said, he could have easily made the wrong decision and sent Hicks back. He could have easily ordered Hicks to do so and made the wrong decision to do so and sent him back. But he learned fast and learned the hard way that, no, Hicks, you are better in this situation. You are better up here. You need to help Ripley in case things go south, because I'll go back for Vasquez. He goes back. And
Eventually relieving his
so I can
command.
show that scene where he's holding a grenade in his hand. Because he goes back for Vasquez, like she's unable to move. He sends Hicks off ahead. And he goes back, starts pulling her. I'm watching the scene, so I'm like letting you guys know 'cause I can't play it. Starts pulling her and realizes his way out behind, like where he came from, is now blocked, and he can't go the other direction either. So and he starts firing, and once he's out of ammo, that like he realizes that there's nothing else to do but blow the aliens and themselves. I'll show you how big it is. All right. Okay, I paused it on him holding the grenade in his hand. Here it is. That's how big that grenade is.
Yep.
That's how big that grenade is. Military tech is always upgrading. Yeah. So he holds it in his hand.
Bigger boom and smaller tubes.
Yeah. Vasquez sees it. Vasquez herself is realizing that she's not getting out of this either. I think she already realized that when she was injured, that she was like, no way she was surviving this. But at the same time, it's like now she's like, it's now definite for her that she's not getting out of this. So she holds Gorman's hand in this scene. And her last words to him before he goes out like a boss is, "You were always an asshole, Gorman."
Yeah.
So that's why I said that he has, like people pointing out, that he has a redemption arc. He's a little bit of an asshole early on and so forth, but I do defend him. I do defend him because he was out of his depth.
And that small little redemption is actually kind of a bigger redemption when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Because they literally held off the aliens for long enough for them to get out a little bit more.
Yeah. Like I said, they could have easily kept him as like a cowardly character, so forth. They could and so but again, a testament to the writing and the directing, pretty much, that this guy who's you think is going to have one direction with his character does a 180, and this is how it goes out. Reminds me of Dylan a little bit from Predator, a little bit, yeah, because you see the Terminator references, so it's like,
oh yeah,
again, a little bit. You see a little bit of that inspiration in terms of how characters are portrayed in this movie, based on what Cameron did with Predator or Terminator, Terminator. But like what the movie Predator also did a little bit as well with characters, and that is, you think they're going to go one direction with the relation of Dylan's character, but then he has his own little mini redemption arc in the process. So that's not a big boom. But Newt is captured. And this is a revelation that happened well earlier in the movie, but now we're going to talk about Bishop, because now you still have tension between Ripley and Bishop as a result, and that is, we found out early on in the movie that Bishop is an android.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop is an android. He is, what was the model number he said? Because it was explained to him in the scene early on that
Hyperdyne model something 8 or A2s.
Yeah, something
and
like
he
that.
said the A2s were always twitchy.
Yeah, the A2s were always twitchy.
Do it because of the behavioral inhibitors that they have.
Yeah. So, and throughout the entire movie, she still doesn't trust him because he still has that still recent in terms of how long she's Hyperdyne model 2028-2. Okay. Because he says he's done nothing to Ripley that would even give anyone any inclination that he would go act the same as Ash. But it's still fresh in her mind what Ash tried to do, how Ash was programmed and so forth. She does not trust Bishop. And Bishop also goes out, but essentially goes out like a boss. All right. because Ripley thinks that
Yeah.
she's been betrayed. He's the only one. He's the only one. I should backtrack a little bit. He's the only one in the crew outside of Corporal Farrow, who's now dead, who can pilot the ship. You can now pilot the ship. So there's a part a little bit later on, before like the big Queen battle, or Disney Princess battle, now that we're going to call that, is that Ripley thinks that he's betrayed them because he's piloting the ship and he was supposed to wait for them. She's going back for Newt. She tells Hicks, who's been injured by the acid blood a little bit from the alien, to make sure Bishop doesn't leave. So Ripley goes back for Newt, as you pointed out, finds her, and also we get how intelligent the xenomorphs are, because all Ripley had to do is show what her weapon was capable of, namely the flamethrower, and just point it at her offspring, the eggs, and say essentially it's like, you can either let me go with my offspring essentially, or I'm killing yours. And that's when the Queen tells her, the soldiers, to back off.
Back off.
Because
But I also love the duplicity.
Oh yeah.
Because the Queen is like, all right, I'll let you leave, but I have no control over these eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
And I just love how the one egg opens up and Ripley just is like, fucking really? She just tilts. She's like, boom. Yeah. And she just unleashes.
Yeah, unleashes.
I mean,
hey,
fucking
Sean,
Mama Dragon right there.
I see the emote. It's a game over, but it's not showing up on StreamYard for some reason. But I see it over on the YouTube side. So yeah, game over, man. So let me try to get to that scene. Again, I had to kind of stop sharing screen and skip 2 parts because I can't play, or I can't show this constantly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show.
Also, if you watch the special edition and the theatrical edition side by side, where the Queen removes herself from the ovipositor, the sac, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
You actually hear different sound effects, where the one that is coming from the theatrical, you actually hear snaps like whip snaps as each tendril is breaking off, where in the special edition, they actually remove that, or the whip snaps, and it's like, I think that's actually a better idea.
Yeah, and the screeching from the aliens, I believe, is baboon screeches.
The Queen is actually a feline.
Well, the Queen is a feline, but the aliens themselves, I'm talking about the soldiers. I think those are baboon screeches.
Oh
yeah. But they're
altered. However, the ones when they get shot are the turkey vulture elephant thing, or the turkey elephant, or whatever it is, where somebody was recording a baby elephant trumpeting and another.
Yeah, I'm skipping over parts. I'm skipping over parts because they're they do find.
There's a deleted scene.
Yeah,
where she finds Burke.
Yeah, but I'm skipping over parts, so we're not talking about the entire movie. Because it is going on 10:30 right now because we got to wait for the stupid stream to come back up.
Yeah.
But they do. She does find Burke. She does find Burke.
Is so great. Yeah, and I love how the Queen, they get up the elevator, and the Queen is like, motherfucking son of a, and then the other elevator arrives, and the Queen turns. It's like, It cocks its head. It's like, okay, I'm going up this way then.
Yeah, again, a testament to how smart the xenomorphs are, because she just gauged from just watching how Ripley was going up, and she looks over and sees the same thing. Goes, all right, bitch, I'm coming after you, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the scene.
You just killed all my kids.
Yeah.
So
again,
yeah,
the
mother to
battle of the
mother,
mama
I'm gonna
bears.
kill you.
The battle of the mama
Exactly.
bears. So
That
it's
is
like,
that is the best fucking. It's like you can't get much better than Mama versus Mama. You know, which
yeah,
Mama wants it more?
yeah. I'm trying to just like get to I'm trying to get like on. So they escape. I'm trying to get to where. Okay, stop buffering. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I thought sure that they like I can't. Okay, I can't. But this is the scene pretty much. I'm trying to like get to the point, and this is where Ripley believes that Bishop has betrayed them because the ship is not there. Where
Yeah,
she
but
like where
goddamn you, Bishop.
yeah, and then we find out that no, he did not betray her again. Like it's again a whole dynamic between Ripley and Bishop's character and how she for about the entire movie she like refuses to trust him or anything like that, and she's cursing him. She's cursing him, and we
Yeah.
find out that no, he didn't betray her. It's just the where the ship was, the scaffolding or the platform like just caved caved underneath them, so he had to take off and circle around until he saw them. Otherwise, they would have lost the ship. So he basically saved the ship and then came back and saved her. So, and this is where you kind of again got stopped because YouTube is asshole. So he saves them. And this is where, hold on, I can't. I wish I could play this, but I can't. I don't want to risk anything. But this is where she does finally I trust you. They do have like this slight heart to heart.
You did good, Bishop. I did.
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually kind of surprised when she says that because you did good. Like she's complimenting him. Like he's an android, so he's probably not used to being complimented. He's used to being programmed to do
Well,
stuff.
also if you also think about it, she's been very dismissive of him throughout the entire fucking film.
Yeah. So like for her to say that to him,
I'll be in med bay. Yeah, you do that.
Yeah. So, and now she's like, "You did good." And I wish I could play this because this scene kind of grossed me out when we see what happens to Bishop when I was a kid watching this.
Yeah.
It kind of grossed me out. But the next thing you see is this queen's tail just like pierce him, like just come right through him, and the
straight through the back into the chest and out the chest, and it's like,
yeah,
oh
the fluid,
shit!
and
he's spitting out all that milk, man.
Yeah, yeah. And then she rips him in half, and I'm like, oh I knew deep down that Bishop was an android, but at the same time I was like, oh, in my little kid's mind, holy shit! It's she rips him in half. She rips him in half. He got wrecked. And he still saved Ripley and Newt. Because there's a point when Ripley and Newt nearly die again. And it's Bishop holding on to the ramp, the pole, and holding on to them. So
yeah, great.
He
He's holding on to the grating.
Yeah. Yeah. So he holds on to them. So he saves them twice, if you think about it. He saves them twice. Yeah. But I'm gonna get to the iconic shot where Ripley comes out and goes, "Get away from her, you bitch."
That is the absolute best freaking line of the 80s period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the best lines.
Documentary on the making of Aliens. They did so many takes getting the Bishop torso to land right. I can link it to you. I believe I have access to it, Spartan Flash Century, because it's on Movies Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the special features are connected to it.
But here it is. she comes out.
But definitely link it.
She comes out. Now she's used to this type of equipment because of what she had been doing between her being found in hibernation sleep and being recommissioned as a warrant officer to go with the Marines. She comes out with this like forklift type equipment, and all she says, again, mother to mother, "Get away from her, you bitch," and how she says it. Like she says it in a way that says, like, if I go out, I'm taking you with me. If I go out, I'm taking you with me to protect my child. Pretty much. You do not want to mess with her. You do not want to mess with her. No, I think Bishop saves Newt.
Yes, he saves Newt because
Newt is sliding and he holds on to her. Because, of how the queen is taken out essentially.
If I could ask Lance Henriksen one question, it would be, what the hell was that white shit made of?
Well, let me see if the trivia has anything.
What is android blood made of? Is it milk?
Let's see.
Lance Henriksen's 2 out of 3, where Bill Paxton's 3 out of 3.
I'm scrolling through the IMDb trivia with Bishop to see if there's anything that about the fluid, what they used.
Crazy thing is, Bill Paxton died by all 3 of them in a span of 7 years. 84 to 91. Ain't that something? Lucky number 7.
Oh, there's actually a first story treatment where he does abandon them.
Except that would have been against his programming.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to there's
didn't do it there.
Trying to see what the dummy, because I'm looking at the trivia for how they filmed that scene, but I'm not seeing what they used in terms of the fluid. I'm saying how they built a dummy that looked like him for that scene. But doesn't see what they used for the milky substance. I'd have to try looking it up elsewhere, but yeah.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah, happy they didn't. Yeah, they didn't do that because it says
Android blood, an alien. Mix of milk and yogurt.
Mm-hmm. All right, well that makes sense. So it says
from the porn industry. No, just kidding.
21st, 1983, James Cameron turned in his first story treatment for the film called Alien 2 at the time, and some of the major differences between the initial treatment and the final film included the following. And of those, it says, while escaping through vents, Vasquez and Gorman sacrifice themselves for Ripley, Newton, Hicks, who make it to the landing zone. However, Bishop refuses to land and pick them up since the risk of xenomorphs getting off the planet is too great. He tells a cursing Ripley, "I guess you were right about me all along." So they changed that. Yeah, so he changed that. So. But anyway. So. Yeah, I'm not going to play that, but. to sum up the boss fight at the end, the queen is dispatched, pretty much. Kind of like how the xenomorph in the first one is, pretty much sucked out. And that's why, like, Bishop has to hold on to Newt, because Newt is almost sucked out as a result. And at this point in the juncture in the movies, that we think, like, finally going to live at least happily ever after, because the queen, well, queen, as far as we know, is no more. And it looks like they're going to be on their way home. And the survivors are Ripley, Newt, and Hicks, and Bishop. Of the humans, Ripley, Newt, and Hicks, and Bishop the android. So,
yeah.
And I wish I could have played some of those scenes. Like the final battle, like the final fight, to show you what Ripley had to do. Yeah, he was ready to quit acting. Because, like he said, this role didn't work out. He was going to quit, and ended up being one of his best roles. Like he's like now, like it was what he's one of the roles he's most remembered for. Yeah. And we got robbed a follow-up story because of how they treated, in particular, Hicks and Newt in the third movie. Yeah. Nothing else happened after this. The end, happily ever after. No Alien 3. Pretty much.
Yeah. Thing is, Alien 3 movie did actually, nowadays, if they were to film those movies, they wouldn't be able to show certain scenes that were shown, especially the autopsy scene on Newt.
Yeah. So I don't hate Alien 3. I wouldn't say I like it necessarily, but the director's cut is better. But yeah, they kind of unceremoniously get rid of Hicks and Newt. Pretty much.
They also have great actors in that movie too. Pete Postlethwaite, what's his name? The one that plays the black guy. I know his name and I can't think of it right now. Oh my god!
What else has he been in? Because I would know the actor's name.
Shit, I can't think of that either. All right. I'm gonna cheat.
So
recast. And Charles Dutton.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And Charles Dance was also in it.
Yeah. Henriksen got sick during doing that scene due to spitting out rotten milk and yogurt. I believe it. I'd be sick too.
Oh yeah. Not bad for a human, and this shit tastes awful.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it had a lot more fucking potential than Alien Resurrection did. I'll tell you that.
Damn straight.
A lot more potential than that film did, and then we got Prometheus, and then we got Alien Covenant. So yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, right now there's only really 2 Alien movies, with, depending on how I'm feeling, the third one.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, there's only 2 good things that came out of Alien Covenant. 1, Jussie Smollett got killed. 2, you got to see the POV.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, again, I'd say that movie probably, of the 2 recent ones, would have had potential, but didn't stick the landing. Did not stick the landing.
I mean,
but there it is, folks. I wish I could have shown the actual, like, playing the scenes even without sound, but I would have risked getting pulled again. But anyway, it's going on like 11:15, so we're gonna kind of start wrapping it up here. But there is our discussion of Aliens. I wish, again, these are movies that like could have a stream that goes on for hours, because there's a lot to go into, including the trivia, the characters themselves, their personalities, and everything. So that's because Ridley Scott had a hard on for androids. Yeah, pretty much, I would say that.
Pretty sure they could make so many porn parodies from the Alien films.
I said, like, maybe depending on how I'm feeling, because the director's cut of Alien 3 is decent. It's actually decent. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
saying that I love the movie. I'm saying that I would include it depending on how I'm feeling in the moment, pretty much. But as far as I'm concerned, right now there's only 2 Alien movies: Alien and Aliens. Nothing else after that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't say for sure when
definitely.
the next movie discussions will be. Most likely not next month, given that it's going to be leading up to Christmas and everyone's going to be busy, pretty much. So what most likely happen would be as
I
soon as
won't.
we do another movie. What?
I won't be busy.
No. Well, I mean, like, but I don't want it to necessarily become necessarily a pattern. So what I might do is skip
Yeah.
next month, and the soonest I would do it would be like January, where we go into Terminator and T2 for that. So like,
There you go.
so like I said, it doesn't necessarily become a pattern where it's like, okay, this November, like we talked about this movie for 2 weeks. Okay, okay, December. Now we talk about these movies for 2 weeks. Okay, it's now January. I want to kind of change it up a little bit, month to month,
Mhm.
and give people time. Like I said, given I don't know how busy people are to actually watch these films. So I'm not gonna say, hey, you only have 2 weeks to watch Terminator or whatever. Like, especially around Christmas time when I don't know people's schedules. So I figure the next one will be Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day for discussion. So like 1 week will be Terminator and the next week will be T2.
Funny thing,
Mhm.
the big three, Terminator, Predator, and Aliens, all have Bill Paxton in them, and all of them are franchises that the first and second one are the most liked of each franchise.
Yeah.
There are so many coincidences. Bill Paxton is just a freaking great person.
For Blade Runner, I would actually have to watch Blade Runner 2049 again because I've only seen it once.
I'd have to watch
And
both.
I could not tell you a fucking thing people said in that film because the surround sound in the theater was so damn loud, it drowned out the dialogue.
Wow.
So I couldn't tell you anything, pretty much what people said. So might just do a discussion on Blade Runner, but 2049, I'd have to really go back and watch that because I could not follow a damn thing the character said. It was okay from what I remember, but I can't tell you much more than that. That's it. I can't tell you much more than that. But it might be something in the future, but that'll be like a little bit down the road. So the next one will be Terminator and Terminator 2. So you have the rest of this month and all of next month to get those movies watched into January, pretty much. And anything that you want to contribute to the conversation, as far as trivia, those in the chat. So let you all know. So basically, I would say I'm looking at my calendar because literally January 1st is a Sunday, so that makes it simple. So it'd be the 11th and the 18th of January. So the 11th would be Terminator, and the 18th would be Terminator 2. For those. And then after that, I think I do want to have more like movie discussions, but I don't know if I'll do like, the first and the sequel necessarily. I might just do like one movie. So it might just be like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, or maybe like the first how do I put this? Like not necessarily just not maybe that, but I'm saying like not necessarily go into sequels necessarily, much like I'm doing now. So that's what I might do, like once a week, once a month. So, but the next one will be the Terminator movies. Discuss all the movies ever made. I could do that, but Dan Blackwood, I've seen a lot. Have you, Orange Hat, have you seen the movie Rat Race? Because I was just thinking about this today. Have you seen the movie Rat Race?
No.
Okay. Because if you had, that is actually a remake of a movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. So that's actually a remake. I don't think too many people know that. but that is a remake.
Nice.
Oh, hush, Dan. Anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Like I said, next ones will be Terminator movies. So, Orange Hat, again, let everybody know where they can find you, what anything you have coming up, what you do, all that fun stuff.
Alrighty, I'm Orange Hat Reviews. I do entertainment review, movie reviews, entertainment news, covering the controversies and stupidity of Hollywood. I do mystery reviews every Tuesday morning where I give people hints to guess what movie I will be reviewing. Then I go into a deep or in-depth discussion about it. I also do guest choice reviews where I bring people onto my channel with it's purely for their convenience. Date, time, and movie is their choice, guest choice.
Mhm.
And I also am going to be on OG Star Wars channel Saturday at 6 p.m. to discuss EU, talking EU with OG. And tomorrow I have a guest choice review, KH, which will be 9 or 6 p.m. tomorrow as well.
All right.
So
And
you can also
Abbott
find me on
Costello
Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. No, sorry.
Yep, you can also find me on Twitter and YouTube. So yeah.
So Abbott and Costello monster films, which one is best? I have an affinity for Meet Frankenstein because it's one of the first ones I watched. So I like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That one was decent. But for me, I'd say Frankenstein. I'm not saying necessarily it's the best. I just have like an affinity for it. But I've seen Jekyll and Mr. Hyde one. I've seen Invisible Man one. I've seen Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff, and The Mummy. So yeah, but I'd say Meet Frankenstein is probably the top one of those. Anyway, all right. So as far as me, obviously, you can find me at this channel, Jade Shadow. I do have a live channel that I've been seriously neglecting, but it is very difficult to. It was very difficult to find time to do anything on that channel, given watching the fucking Rings of Power show, and it's getting even more difficult around the holidays because tomorrow I'm going to be helping my mom a great deal, so I'm not going to be able to stream at all or do any video tomorrow, which is why I put a video out today. And but tomorrow evening you can find me on my Twitch, Jade_Fire. I'll be attempting yet fucking again, to try to play Warzone 2.0. I don't know if you were watching Orange Chat, but yesterday I joined Blabs, Herbs, and Gibbons to squad up for Warzone, the new Warzone 2.0, and none of the lobbies would load. So it's supposed to load like 152 players. None of them would load. You would actually see the numbers going down because people were leaving because they were like, we couldn't get into any match or anything.
Yeah.
It finally loaded us at one point into a game with only 10 players on this fucking map. With only 10 players, 3 left. So it's down to our squad of 4 and 3 other players, like a group of 3. So it was the longest fucking game of hide and seek because the only way we found them was finding a bounty contract, which told us where they were. Pretty much. That's how. Otherwise, we would have been all over the map trying to find them. It was that munted. Could not get into a lobby. Oh, shut up, Soul. 3 years to work on this game, and it was a disaster launch for a lot of people. To the point where actually Call of Duty was getting yelled at. I mean, like roasted on Twitter. So the viewers want to watch
the old gaming.
Yeah.
I miss old gaming.
At one point in one of the lobbies, I just threw a Molotov at our squad. A Molotov cocktail at our squad. Like, I'm gonna burn the motherfucker down. I just threw it at our squad. Pretty much. Yeah, I blame Mazda too. But anyway, there it is, folks. Again, you can find me tomorrow there at Jade_Fire on Twitch tomorrow, attempting at least Warzone 2.0. And if I can't get it to work again for whatever reason, if I can get it to work for whatever reason, playing some multiplayer and leveling up guns, pretty much. So I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but game devs have been like really lackluster. Or maybe DMZ if I can get a squad, like 2 other people to play with. I have to squad up with 3. I don't like playing with randos. I fucking hate playing with randos. But there it is. So thank you again to Orange Chat. I'll be like posting again on when I'm going to be doing the Terminator discussions. So again, that'll be like the 11th and 18th of January would be the earliest. I'll know more so through December what might like how my schedule is kind of going to be like, but for the most part, that's when you basically can plan for. So thank you everyone in the chat for participating. Thank you to my members and mods for catching the bots, and we will see you all next time. Next week will be the top 10 movie discussion. That is the top 10 buddy films. Your top 10 buddy films. They could be buddy cop, they could be road movies, things like that. But top 10 buddy films, pairing films, right? So take care, everyone. Stay safe, and always remember, Mazda drives like an Asian woman in Call of Duty. Peace. Play.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.